as much, but we got Thursday Night Football, and that will carry us into the weekend and into tomorrow. But, Brett, how are you this afternoon?
I'm doing great, Brian. There's plenty of intrigue out there tonight, pro and college. I think every AD that might have a wish list at the end of this year should be watching Kenny Dillingham and G.J. Kenny tonight in Dateline, San Marcos, Texas. And that will be fun. Probably biggest game ever in Texas State football history. Seriously.
Definitely.
Probably is.
No, it absolutely it will definitely. I mean, I don't know the history very well of Texas State football.
Real thin.
But yes, but you got to imagine that this will be up there. And, you look at the line right now, Arizona State on the road, only a 1-point favorite. And so, it could be a really fun game. I expect a lot of offense from both of these teams. And so it should be a lot of fun to watch. But a lot of people will have their eyes on that Thursday night football game between the Dolphins and the Bills, which should be a lot of fun. But we do have a lot of college football news and college athletic news to discuss after the bomb that was dropped this morning with the Pac-12. They're not dead. They're back, I guess, to an extent.
Oh, and get this from Mr. Prep Sports. Thank you, John Varlas. Tonight, you met Lincoln. Help me with the pronunciation.
Perry. Yep.
He plays at Texas State.
He sure does. He's running back. He's coming off an ACL injury.
Did you play
last
with him?
year. Sure did. He was freshman and sophomore year. He was there when I was a junior, senior. And so yeah, a really good guy. I love Lincoln. But yeah, he's down at Texas State. Was out all last season with ACL. I don't want to say a complete tear. I just know it was an ACL injury. And so he's back this year. I scored a touchdown last week in their game. So yeah, so he's doing real big things.
What year of college football are we at with Lincoln Perry now?
He's getting close to the end. I know he's still, I think, involved with COVID. I think he probably got a medical waiver for last year.
Freshman fall of 20 at Arkansas State?
I would say I think 20 was probably his freshman year.
And they played the Tigers here
that's right.
in COVID year.
Yeah, I believe that was his freshman year.
Well, maybe he won't apply, but I'm going to take a little bit of a shot later at Alan Bowman, the Oklahoma State quarterback.
Well,
but I'm not taking one at Lincoln.
No,
Perry,
not at
especially with the injuries and everything that he's been through. You're right. We got a big one today, and
oh man,
but Brian, I know you're not worried about it now, but you get to my age, you get worried about all these things, and they talk about what's the skin rash disease that hurts so many people so much. I can't think of the name of it.
I don't know. Like shingles?
Shingles. That's it.
Yeah,
Thank you. And I got a booster for it. And all those ads goes, it's laying there inside of you, and you don't know when it's going to emerge. Yeah. Isn't that conference realignment? It's the shingles of sports.
Like it. Yeah, you never know when it's gonna jump out at you.
Of course, the shingle vaccine I got several years ago. First of all, it was expensive. It was like $200.
Holy cow!
And it hurt. Man, it was some medicine going through my arm.
Interesting.
And I got it on a Friday before a home Ole Miss football game, and he had no idea I did. And the next day in the booth, I won't call his name, but one of the people in the booth playing good and kept hitting me right on that spot the whole day.
No.
And I was wanting to go, man, you're about to kill me. Of course, there's no way they could have known. But I love that ad. It's lingering. It's right there in you.
Yeah.
And that's what realignment. It's always out there. And then you don't know when it's going to be Mount Vesuvius and explode. And it did this morning. And the Tigers are primary in this conversation.
Yeah, no, they absolutely are, and I think it's getting a lot of response and a lot of different opinions from people because it's such a weird situation that's going on with the Pac-12 and the moves they made by taking 4 teams from the Mountain West earlier today: Boise State, San Diego State, Colorado State.
You have to ask them twice.
No, and Fresno State. Yeah, no, you didn't need to ask them multiple times or negotiate with them. They were ready to jump. So yeah, it's very interesting. It was a bombshell this morning. The biggest takeaway I took away is now the new look Pac-12 as it stands right now. Every team in the conference has state at the end, whether they're a state or not, they have state.
Whoa.
And so I think people that might want Memphis to join the Pac-12. Maybe we should go back to Memphis State, and then maybe
you
that'll
can
make
say
it easier.
it, being a
go.
diploma holder. If I ever so slightly slip,
right.
well, I just get crushed over it. and when I do slip, it's fun. It's happy days of my sports life, whether going to Tiger football with my favorite uncle in the early 70s to falling in love with Tiger basketball. So when I do slip, it is no offense taken. And I don't want anybody to take offense to what I'm getting ready to say now. This is just my read of it, and I get paid to give my opinion. Here it is. If today the Tigers could go to this refashioned, newfangled Pac-12, first of all, if the money is decidedly better, I don't think there's any question. I think that's easy for Dr. Hargrave. That's easy for Dr. Scott. That's easy for the powers that be. If the money is better, I think you go. If the money's better and then you just want to look at the competition of it, those teams that just joined today would make basketball so much better than what the Tigers are currently in. And I think better just with what's joined today and already in the two-pack with the two that remained, with Oregon and Oregon State, already better in football. And that's without the carrot of automatic into the playoffs on whatever the playoffs will look like in the future. And nobody knows what that's going to be.
That's right.
Because it's this year and next year for 12 team, and then totally new TV negotiations, totally new everything, could go to 14. I think if you add that new Pac-12, the refashioned Pac-12 is one that gets an automatic bid. Just go ahead and go to 16 and quit messing around on the margins.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I've gone back and forth all day about what I think because I've seen a lot of people talking about both sides of it and, kind of where the Tigers sit. And every reporting that's come out has said that, Memphis is a team that they are interested in and a team that they are looking at if and when they decide to try to go after more for this new look Pac-12. And there's a lot of factors at play, but I think you lay out a very good case of why they should join if they're offered.
There will be some consideration to travel to play all those teams that are so very west, and you can get ready for this. And again, good problem. If the money's better and you have the carrot of the automatic into the college football playoff for your conference champion. If it's those things, I don't think you care about this. But we as consumers, we will. Bryant, that's going to be some late night tip times and start times for other sports, a lot of the non-revenue producing sports, but even for football and men's basketball, that would be some different start times. But we'd get used to it.
Well, Pac-12 After Dark featuring the Tigers. That would be interesting for sure.
Not only After Dark, that bleeds into tomorrow a lot of times.
Yes, no, you're absolutely right, and it would take a lot of getting used to for a lot of people. Thankfully, I'm already a little used to that being a Seattle Kraken fan. During hockey season, I have to stay up late to watch their games most of the time, but it would be a change. But I think Brett, if you can, and there's obviously no certainty probably to this, but if you could get some sort of confirmation or close to a promise that the Pac-12 leaders feel pretty good that based on what they've put together, they can get an automatic bid to a new look playoffs, that helps a lot. I mean, that really sweetens the pot. It goes
and the money
really
being better.
Certainly. Those two would be huge, and right now I don't know if that would be there, and I think if it's there, it makes my decision a lot easier. If it's not there, then I'm right back to being on the fence of I don't know which side to be on.
Let's say you just get one. The money's better.
Okay.
I don't know if I'll go substantially, and I don't want to go marginally, but it's better. All right, but you don't have the automatic bid. Well, then you're already better off than you are now.
Sure. Yeah.
So you got a little more money, and you're in that G5 kind of bracket that the Tigers are in with all these other teams. And just what was added today, I would so prefer to see that on football and basketball schedules. And a friend that's very connected in the college sports world just texted me. I'm going to leave his name out of it. But he said he would rather see those Pac-12 teams on schedules instead of the mismatch we have now
for sure
for selling season tickets. He put it in a much more diplomatic way than I would put it. I can't see Rice again in my life.
Well, yeah, right.
I can't see Temple again in my life in anything.
Well, yeah, we've gotten very used to Rice and Temple, unfortunately. But no, I mean,
I won't miss Tulsa. I'll just tell you.
Yeah, I mean, I won't either, if I'm being honest. But no, I mean, I think if you had the opportunity to have Boise State in both football and basketball every year, if you could have
Colorado State
is just where I was going to in football and basketball every year. Those would be great. I mean, any team on that list would be great to have.
San Diego State. That would be a lot of fun.
Certainly. So yeah, I mean, there's so many pros, I think, to it in terms of scheduling and getting to see those teams, because I think you definitely take those teams better than or more because they're better than what you're going to see most of the times in this current conference.
Brian, I do my weekly hit. I'm invited to do a weekly hit on Jocks in Birmingham with Landon Roberts and Pat Smith and a great crew down there, Molly Robinson and others. And they asked me, should Memphis, if just my opinion, should Memphis maybe try to leverage, hey, Pac-12, we have this, let's go to probably a new composition of an ACC and maybe try to leverage. And I said, no. I wouldn't flirt with playing any chicken because too often in conference realignment, when the bus is wheeled around the station, it's been going too fast for Memphis to get on. And I wouldn't try to leverage anyone. I would take this one that I have.
Yeah, I mean, that's where
if it got offered,
sure, and that's where Ed Scott and the rest of his staffers and people that he trusts, if this does come to an offer, you got to sit down and you got to make a decision. You either take it and you go and you're a Pac-12 member, or you wait and you see maybe what happens with the ACC or the Big 12 or something else. But no. You do not want to play the game of, okay, all right, Pac-12. Thank you, Pac-12. We need to think about this, and then get on the phone immediately after that. Hey, ACC, Pac-12 on the other line. They really like us. No. That sounds like a lose-lose situation.
Yeah, if somewhere in all this the ACC calls and says, hey, don't do anything too hasty.
Definitely.
Well, but and I think Ed Scott, with the chops he has in that league, tells them, well, I'm not going to do anything hasty, but make your best offer and make it pretty damn quick.
Sure. And I think we've said this before, and it was said a lot when Ed Scott got the job of the expectations are, do whatever you can to get Memphis into one of those power conferences. And I think based on what I've seen him do, obviously nothing to the extent of conference realignment yet, how I've seen him handle his job so far at Memphis, I have a lot of faith that he is going to take it very seriously and make a right decision.
Right, I should know the answer to this because I don't. I'm embarrassed that I don't. When are they starting? When would the new fashion repackaged pack start?
I believe the idea is 2026. I think that's the ideal starting point for those.
Okay, so if Memphis if they accepted over the next 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 2 months, 3 months, whatever it is, accepted, so you'd play you basketball this year, one more fall, and one more basketball in AAC?
Correct, yes.
Look, I think I'd jump at this.
Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah, so I just pulled it up on ESPN just to make sure I was correct. The move that would add Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, and San Diego State. They will leave the Mountain West Conference to join Oregon State and Washington State in the Pac-12 prior to the beginning of the 2026-27 academic year. So it would start that 2026 college football season would be the first year of play for what would be the new Pac-12.
And I know we always do in any discussion, media fans, everybody, we always invoke, I think rather proudly, FedEx in anything that comes along in sports concerning the Tigers. And I know some would go, yeah, but that's going to be, postseason basketball tournaments, probably maybe in Vegas or in Los Angeles. I think FedEx would have enough clout to go, hey, ever 1 out of 3, 4 years?
Sure.
Yeah, let's do this thing in the same time zone. Let's do it in Memphis.
Yeah, I would hope so. And, FedEx has obviously made a big commitment to the University of Memphis in terms of NIL, but they've also, stepped up a lot, when these talks of conference realignment have been there in the past. And so, I think they can. I think they've got the power to do that. Now, I mentioned this ESPN article that I was that I pulled up just to make sure the year was right. It kind of breaks everything down, and then it has a section that says who else will the Pac-12 target. I know a lot of stories out there that involve Memphis in this, but this does mention Memphis, and so I want to read it real quick. What ESPN has to say. The more realistic targets are Tulane and Memphis, but those two will need a much clearer understanding of the financial picture to leave the AAC than the threshold used by the 4 Mountain West Conference schools. There would be appeal in building the top football league outside the Power 4, but it would still have to make financial sense. UTSA's location makes it a good fit. So it sounds like Memphis, Tulane, maybe UTSA. I know I've seen some stories throughout USF because of the Tampa market and that. So
that'd be fine. That's
sure.
that's
better than nice.
Great American Conference.
Yeah, I mean it's
Oregon to Florida.
No, it's certainly that would definitely stretch out. But I know a lot of people have written.
And I bet you
San
Antonio would say, "Hey, how about a tournament here?"
Sure.
Ever so often.
Absolutely. And, I think
with Spurs.
I think if you get, if I don't know what the goal is for the Pac-12, but if you went out and got Memphis, if you went out and got Tulane, if you went out and got UTSA, I think that only helps the idea of conference tournaments, conference championships, whatever it may be, not all out on the West Coast, because you have more than just one team over in a different time zone that you have to say, okay, we got to make them happy. So it's going to be interesting to follow. We'll talk more about this throughout the show, but let me set up today's show before we get to top and not top story of the day. 3:30, Bill Bender from the Sporting News will join us to talk some college football. We'll get his thoughts on this news. We'll also get his thoughts on a lot of the games over the weekend. 3:45, we'll get into tonight's Thursday night football game between Buffalo and Miami as we got more Thursday night football. This game on Prime last week was not. It was a nationally televised game, but we're back to Prime games. But if you don't have Prime, you don't want to get Prime, you can catch all the action right here on Sports 56. Our coverage will begin at 7 o'clock. 4 o'clock, Keith Smith from Spotrac and the Front Office Show will join us to talk the NBA as the offseason continues to roll along. But we are very, very close to camps opening and preseason action just right around the corner. 4:30, Doug Kazarian, he joined us last Thursday from Vegas, but he's going to join us again from Wager Watch and OnlyPlayers.com. I'm sure everybody remembers Doug Kazarian from his long stint at ESPN. He was great last week, Brett, with his picks. I believe 3-1 you mentioned yesterday.
Dropped the 3-1 in.
That's it's not too bad, so we'll definitely have to get some more picks from Doug when he joins us at 4:30. 4:45, we'll get to big number of the day. 5 o'clock, Greg Gaston will join us to talk Tigers. And now with this news, a ton of Tigers to talk about with the football game, basketball news, everything. A lot to get to with Greg Gaston at 5 o'clock. 5:30, we'll get to what's trending. And at 5:45, we'll wrap up today's show like we always do with Crunch Time. Let me remind you, we're in our Family Leisure Studios where family and fun come together, and head over there right now for the world's biggest spa sale going on right now at Family Leisure. Save thousands on in-stock hot tubs ready for delivery. Spas starting at $28.99. Cold plunges starting at $39.99. Swim spas starting at $17,499. Special financing, it's also available right now. And huge discounts on all in-stock above-ground pools. They've got that too. And all patio furniture, it's priced to move. So head out to Family Leisure, 2120 Whitten Road, just north of I-40.
He's Brian. I'm Brett. We're Sportstime. We're with you to 6, and we want you to be a part of our show by texting or calling 901-360-8255. That's the Sissy's Log Cabin text and talk line. All our guests will appear on that same number, 901-360-8255, at the Sissy's Log Cabin guest line. As Bryant said, as always, in our Family Leisure Studios. And as always, every day, this hour of our show brought to you by Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Great offers on all 2024 models and always special leasing options. Drive in luxury and confidence knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Call them at 901-334-9673, but stop by the one and only Lexus dealership in town at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of the all-new 2024 flagship LS500, and you'll be looking and you'll be driving in style. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design, and they make for the luxury driving experience. Online at lexusofmemphis.com. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
Well, Brett, my top story of the day has got to be the news we just discussed. The Pac-12, it's back after all the jokes and everybody leaving. They're back and looking to expand. Now, it's not USC and UCLA and Oregon, but they are adding some nice teams. It was announced earlier this morning after it had been rumored for the past couple days that Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, and San Diego State would all leave the Mountain West Conference to join Oregon State and Washington State in the Pac-12. This move will be made prior to the start of the 2026-27 academic year. So college football season 2026, Boise State will be a member of the Pac-12 and playing in that conference. It sounds like they don't want to stop at just these 4 teams that now puts them at 6 total. They want to get up to a full-fledged conference with double-digit teams, if I had to guess. Now, I don't know if they'll get all double-digit to be added before that 2026 season, but it does seem like they're ready to add more. So where does that put Memphis? I think Memphis is very high up in terms of teams that the Pac-12 is looking at. You go all over, whether it's ESPN.com, CBS Sports, SI, The Athletic. Everybody's writing stories about this move, and they're all saying what's next, and all of them are saying the University of Memphis. And that's credit to where the university in this athletic department has put all of these programs, where the football program is right now, where the basketball program is right now, where those other sports are, and then the backing that it has, what the university has done in terms of getting that new stadium, what they have now with FedEx in terms of NIL money and other boosters that have given a ton of NIL money to the University of Memphis. So they're in a good spot now with the Pac-12, but it puts them in a weird spot. Do they take it and join a conference where, at least currently, all the members are way out there on the West Coast, or do they sit back? I think Brett laid out a great point of it all depends on what the money looks like and what comes with being in the Pac-12. If it's a financial boost, if you're going to be making more money as a member, if you have that promise of getting the conference champion, an automatic spot in the playoff, then no doubt I think you go and you take this opportunity for the Pac-12. But if both of those are not, if it's only maybe a slight jump financially, which I don't think it will be, I think it will be pretty good financially, but if you don't have that backing for college football, it raises the question, does Memphis, and I saw somebody point this out in their story today, and Jason Munn's quote tweeted it with the quote from the story, Pat 40. The quote was, "It seems unlikely that Tulane, Memphis, or South Florida would uproot for what looks like a lateral long-distance move." So there's both sides to this that I've seen a lot of people, not only fans, but also reporters talking about what this move realistically looks like. But it's definitely going to be something that we're going to have to keep a really close eye on because it feels like this is moving fast.
The obvious group lock on top story today, conference realignment. It never ends, and like a horror movie, back from the dead, the Pac-12 emasculated down to the 2-pack. Now it's ready to reboot, and Memphis being linked to it, I think, is really good news. I like Dennis Dodd a lot at CBS, National College Football writer. He says they are intrigued about the idea of AAC schools that are west of the Mississippi. Only one problem, Dennis.
Well,
Memphis ain't west of the Mississippi.
well, it's close.
I mean, just barely east of that
barely.
big old river.
He's saying West Memphis. I don't
But
know.
I know what he was meaning,
Yes.
and we all do, and it's good news for the Tigers.
It absolutely is. And, man, a lot of news this morning.
Not top story of the
And
day.
it leads me to my not top story of the day, because while everybody was losing their mind about the Pac-12 back from the dead, adding schools, what does this mean for Memphis? We got another pretty big story that came out. Memphis basketball, we've been waiting on the news for their second exhibition game. We know the first one will be played in Huntsville, Alabama against the University of Alabama, that a lot of people think has a really good shot of contending for the national championship this year. But earlier today, we learned what the second exhibition will be. It will be against UNC North Carolina. The Tar Heels will come to the FedEx Forum to play Memphis in an exhibition game on October 15th. I believe it will be a 6 o'clock tip-off. It will be shown on ESPNU, which is very rare for these exhibition games to be shown on ESPN networks. A lot ESPN Plus, stuff like that. This one will be shown on ESPNU. And the coolest thing, the best thing about this, well, I guess one thing, it's going to be a doubleheader. So you'll have Memphis and North Carolina first. That game will be shown on ESPNU. Directly after that will be Memphis women's basketball team going up against national powerhouse South Carolina in another exhibition game that will be shown on ESPN Plus. But the biggest thing is this exhibition slate is being done for St. Jude. It was a partnership with St. Jude, and all of the proceeds, tickets sold, and all of that will go directly to St. Jude, which is really, really cool for all four of these teams to do, for St. Jude to get involved, for these teams to get involved. Really excited about this, and to see Memphis go up against two powerhouse names in the world of basketball is going to be really fun. I hope everyone makes plans to go down there and catch that.
You know, these games used to kind of be referred to as the super secret exhibition game.
Mm-hmm.
We may need to call these the not so super secret now, because it
not at all secret.
If it's on ESPNU,
That's
it's
right.
no secret about it. It's terrific. And Coach Dawn Staley, she's going to be the special guest picker on game day Saturday
How about that?
in Columbia, and have her great team in here on that night when the Tigers play the Carolinas. My not top story, rivalry week in week 3 in college football. Apple Cup, Wazoo versus UW. Backyard brawl, Pitt versus Virginia. Battle of Brothers. Never knew it was called that till I read that today. Utah State versus Utah. Civil War, Oregon State versus Oregon. Rocky Mountain Showdown. Never knew it was called that today either till I read it. Colorado State. Who said all these games had to be played over Thanksgiving?
That's right.
I like this. COVID year, it was this close, real close, that to start the COVID year was going to be Ole Miss and Mississippi State playing in that first game back, where we could make sure we got it in if the year came apart. It didn't happen. Got it in late in the year. The late, great Mike Leach and Lane said, we're playing if you have to play the nose guard at quarterback. That game's getting played. I will forever appreciate both of them for that. And I wish we would go to some of these big rival openers, maybe even like the Egg Bowl, or Texas and Texas A&M. Play it early in the year.
Oh, I'm all for
What a summer of build-up that would be.
it would be incredible. I mean, you're telling me I got to play my rival in week 3?
Arkansas, Texas.
Oh,
week
man.
1.
Oh, week 1 would be incredible. But any of these early weeks would be so wild. But that'll do it for top and not top story of the day. Let's go ahead and get to our first break. And when we come back, we're talking college football with Bill Bender.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows, stay up to date with station events, and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
Nestled in the heart of East Memphis, located corner of Park and Cherry, is a beautiful residential neighborhood. I'm here at Town Village Audubon Park interviewing a new resident, Carolyn. Share with us why you chose Town Village.
Well, if your parents or special friends need to make that big move, let me share with you my experience. It was tough for me to leave home, but then I discovered Town Village. I would like to highly recommend Town Village to you and your loved ones. After looking at all the amenities and meeting all the people and staff, I was hooked. From restaurant, bistro, 3 meals per day, housekeeping, transportation, security, health care, physical therapy, exercise room, and
Town Village Audubon Park at 901-374-7342. There's no place like home, Town Village.
If you're looking to play a private country club but only pay daily greens fees, then Meadowbrook Country Club in West Memphis, Arkansas is the place for you. At Meadowbrook Country Club in West Memphis, you can now play a beautiful, challenging course for only $59. Meadowbrook Country Club features champion Bermuda greens and is now available to everyone. A membership is $350 per month and includes tennis, pickleball, and swimming, plus a great restaurant and bar, all less than 15 minutes from downtown and midtown Memphis. Meadowbrook Golf Pro Mark can even fix you up with custom-made tricks on and Cleveland clubs. If golf isn't for you, try the social membership for only $250 a month. And there's 2 levels of all-inclusive junior memberships, 20 to 29 for $200 a month and 30 to 34 for $250 a month. Call for your tee time today at Meadowbrook Country Club, 870-394-4186. Now semi-private Tuesday through Sunday. Meadowbrook Country Club in West Memphis, 870-394-4186.
Hungry for that delicious smash burger flavor? Dyer's Cafe is the original smash burger since 1912 and still smashing burgers in Collier's historic town square. Come out for their lunch specials Monday through Friday, 11 to 2. Ask about their world-famous split dog and authentic Chicago or New York dog. Try the leaner side of Dyer's with a grilled chicken sandwich or freshly made salad. Also serving Lakes, Delta-raised catfish, Pasquale's tamales, and a customer favorite, hand-breaded onion rings. Dyer's, serving world-famous burgers, dogs, and shakes in Collier's historic town square.
Tom McCarthy here from Thursday Night Football at Westwood One. Join Ross Tucker and me for Week 2 NFL action between 2 of last year's playoff teams when Josh Allen and the new-look offense Bills travel south to take on Tua Tagovailoa and the high-flying Dolphins. Both are coming off impressive wins in Week 1 and hope to grab the early AFC East division lead on Thursday Night Football.
Right here on Sports 56.
Sports fans, let's talk stats. 1 in 8 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer, and of those men, many will experience bladder leaks. That's why Depend is partnering with the Prostate Cancer Foundation to encourage getting screened. Because if caught early, prostate cancer is up to 99% treatable. I like those odds. Depend is also donating to prostate cancer research for select purchases now through November. Learn more at Depend.com. From September through November, Depend is donating 40 cents to the Prostate Cancer Foundation for Depend shields, guards, real fit products purchased in the U.S. up to a maximum of $300,000. For the
This is the story of the one. As a facility technician installing a new welding station, he knows getting the ventilation right is critical for safety. That's why when questions arise, there's Granger. Granger offers detailed technical product information online at his fingertips, so it's easy to find what he needs. Because when it comes to safety, having answers means he and his people can breathe a little easier. Call clickgranger.com or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
Joining Brian and Brett now on Sportstime is Bill Bender, national college football writer for the Sporting News, and on Twitter X @BillBender. Here's Bill with Brian and Brett.
Bill Bender joins us now from the Sporting News to talk some college football. Bill, thanks so much for joining us. I know we want to get to a lot of these games over the weekend, but I want to start off with the big news this morning that the Pac-12 is expanding. They're going to add 4 teams from the Mountain West, and it looks like they're going to want to expand from that. And a lot of people here locally in Memphis have been talking about what does that mean for Memphis. It looks like they might be on their list. What did you make of the news this morning?
Yeah, I mean, it's good for the Pac-12, obviously. It's good for college football that conference is going to try to survive. Probably bad for the Mountain West Conference, but, I thought at first that a merger between those two conferences would have made sense, but it's clear that the conferences take care of their own first, and there might be some brands that aren't as attractive to the Pac-12 in that conference. So, yeah, Memphis and Tulane. Keep an eye on that, in my opinion. I think nothing to back up that they've reached out or trying to reach out, but I think Memphis and Tulane are the two brands out of the American Athletic Conference that would make sense for them. It's a level up for Memphis. I looked at that a little bit. You guys tell me, I mean, is there a tight regional rival that they have right now that they would miss by leaving? I don't know that there is.
No.
Not a single one. I said earlier, Bill, I was on today on Jocks with their midday crew, and the UAB partisans down there, I think they would miss Memphis much more than Memphis would miss them.
And Memphis has worked their way up the ladder a little bit. I know they were one of the schools that was kind of in the beauty pageant for the Big 12, and UCF got that, and Houston got that, and Cincinnati got that. Now, Memphis is a really good football team, really good football program, got a good facility, good market. And Tulane, same deal. Tulane's really improved their stock the last couple of years. So if they were to go outside of adding more Mountain West teams, or they were to go outside, there's one possibility that I've kicked around that I don't know if they can do it, but would Stanford and Cal come back? I don't think they will because we're just too far down the line now. But that's an interesting scenario to me, too. It would make more sense.
Yeah, no, I'm absolutely with you.
Well, I think the lawyers would come running.
Well, yeah, that could be an issue. Bill, how fast do you think it is until we see another team added, or at least the news of talks between them, the Pac-12, and another team?
Well, I mean, this is just another instance that realignment never dies.
Mm-hmm.
The wheel never stops turning. I woke up this morning, saw that, and I was like, oh, here we go. Brad McMurphy, Ross Dellinger, those guys did an excellent job reporting that story. And it moves fast. So, it could be next Friday, it could be 2 months from now. But I would anticipate that they stay aggressive because they've got to get to 8.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have 8 teams to have a conference. And it's kind of ironic to me on some level that Pac-8 was the Pac-8 from 1968 to 1978.
Yeah. That's right. It really is random, Bill. I mean, we rock along and then it all blows up and then it settles in and we kind of merge everybody in. Then it blows up again. Bill Bender from the Sporting News with us on our Sissy's Log Cabin guest line. Let's stay on the Memphis Tigers and talk Saturday down in Tallahassee. I've liked the Tigers in this game all summer long. I think everybody waking up to much more than a puncher's chance, the real upset. If you look at the odds of being the underdog, and the Tigers are, the real upset could occur, couldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there is a little risk factor to that because Florida State did have a week off to kind of reset, recalibrate their program, try to fly. Sometimes when you give an 0-2 team a week off, it's dangerous. They come out much more focused and those kind of things. They got to run the ball against this really weak Florida State run defense. Mario Anderson, I believe he had 4 or 5 runs of 10 yards or more last week. Those have to come. Hennigan can't turn the ball over, and Seth Hennigan hasn't turned the ball over to this point. So, yeah, it's not I mean, this is kind of a coin flip game to me. I do think Memphis will have to have those things happen, and you still got to get a little bit of luck on the road, but I would look for them to try to follow the formula that Boston College and Georgia Tech have showed them.
If FSU starts 0-3, we're on full collapse watch, aren't we?
That'd be 4 straight losses dating back to the Georgia game last year,
right.
and dating back to the snub. So I don't think too many people are going to feel sorry for them, considering everything that happened after that. But it's wild to me that week 3, which is light on top 25 games, we've got a couple good ones. The 2 of the storylines that could emerge is Florida State could potentially be 0-3. And then not too far down the road, Florida and Billy Napier, if they lose to Texas A&M, it's going to get loud, really loud for the Florida Gators because they would be 1-2.
It absolutely would. You mentioned Boston College a second ago. They beat Florida State in Florida State's most recent game. Now they go on the road to Missouri in one of those top 25 matchups. You mentioned right now Missouri, a 16-point favorite. When you look at this Boston College team, win over Florida State that they really look dominant in, win over an FCS opponent, what do you think they can do against this Missouri team, and what do you expect to see in this game?
And the line looks way high, which scares me because it means that maybe somebody knows that Missouri is going to cruise here. because the instinct is to take Boston College and that running game and Thomas Castellanos. I think Bill O'Brien's done a nice job there to this point. So we'll see. I think Missouri's defense is really good. They haven't given up a point. Luther Burden's kind of been hidden so far. He hasn't had that breakout game. Brady Cook probably working around with the receivers. I look for an entertaining game. I do think Boston College hangs and hangs out in that game. And, you know, for your listeners, obviously, I mean, outside of football, that Wells Crowther piece by ESPN yesterday about the red bandana, the origins of that, everything that means to Boston College. I mean, I had tears in my eyes. It was amazing.
It was, Bill, me too. And it's just hard to believe that 23 years have gone by. It made me stop and think yesterday. You know, because I was just 2 years old when this occurred, but 23 years after Pearl Harbor would have been December 7th, 1964. I wonder if 9/11 is still more raw, or was Pearl Harbor, and Pearl Harbor kicked off World War II. I understand that. But I wonder if we really are remembering right. When I was reading that, I thought of all the things we'll never forget, you know, and sometimes I'm scared collectively we may have forgotten.
Yeah, I was discussing that with my son. We do this car ride to and from practice every night for football, and I was telling him, I was like, that's really my generation's moment of, you know, for my mother, it was, for you said Pearl Harbor's up, you know, obviously you were young. My mother was really young during the Kennedy assassination. And then for me, it's 9/11. I was first grade when the Challenger blew up. But I do remember, if you want to put a college football spin on it, I just remember when college football came back and the NFL came back and President Bush threw that strike down the middle in the Yankees game, there was a sense of unification around the country that's probably not there right now, which we don't need a tragedy to bring it, but I think it's a lesson that, yeah, I mean, when this country's together and sports help make that happen, it's a pretty cool thing. And I think, you know, that those moments afterwards, for as horrendous as the tragedy was, I think football helped, you know, bring us back to normal.
Absolutely. We're talking to Bill Bender from the Sporting News. Another game that I'm interested in this weekend, Alabama on the road at Camp Randall against Wisconsin. I'll be honest, I have not seen much of Wisconsin through 2 games this season. I watched a lot of Alabama last week in their game against USF. What kind of challenge can Wisconsin give to Alabama? Alabama right now a 16-point favorite in that environment. What do you expect in this game?
Well, you know, it could be a lot like Michigan, Texas was.
Wow.
Where Wisconsin hangs for a while with their defense, the crowd. That is an environment that Alabama's never been in, and it can be neat and it can be tough. But I'm wondering how much their offense is going to help. You know, Jalen Milroe doesn't commit turnovers. There issues been some penalties, but he'll be able to get the ball to Ryan Williams, and I think the athletes would take over. To me, on some level, it is on Wisconsin to come out and show how tough that place is to play. I've watched them get beat by Ohio State by a couple touchdowns in prime time. I've watched Michigan roll in there and win by 3 scores. So I think Alabama wins in a very similar fashion, like I said, to Texas, unless they turn the ball over or penalties get in the way, because their offense is just more dynamic than Wisconsin's, and it's exactly how I felt leaving the Big House. By the way, I was wrong about that. I thought Michigan was going to be able to hang in that game. I think it said more about Texas, though. They're really good.
I think it did too, Bill. And Michigan, just early the game, with the terms were dictated, and it was Texas State. I bet you didn't catch this, and it was on Big Noon on Fox last week. But they had almost like an open letter or a commentary from Tom Brady about what a football weekend is like in Ann Arbor. Just the whole town, you know, in maize and blue, and everybody pulling in the same direction. I've never been. I got to see Columbus for that game last weekend. Could you feel it? Did it feel like you were in football, college football heaven?
Oh, a great college town. You know, I think a lot of Texas fans that showed up for that game, there was a lot of burnt orange in the stadium. Not as like, I think this is part of the realignment thing where we're going to get, when you get matchups like this and we'll get them off campus, it's going to be neat for people that have never experienced that. It was a cool setting. It was a cool atmosphere. I thought Texas you heard their fans at the end of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to get more matchups like that with first-round games on campus and that neat factor. I mean, when it stuck up on me last week, Brett, that Texas had never played there. Alabama, I don't know that. I didn't look. I probably should have. I don't know that they haven't been to Camp Randall in a long time. I can tell you that. And it's going to make those environments that much neater.
Yeah, it absolutely will. Well, it should be a fun weekend of action. Bill, as always, thanks so much for joining us. Enjoy this weekend, and we'll do it again next Thursday.
Hey, you guys are the best. Have a great weekend. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks,
you be
Bill.
safe. Thank you, man.
Bill Bender joining us from the Sporting News to talk all things college football. I give some previews for the big-time matchups this weekend and some really good ones.
Bill was close to right on Bama ever playing at Madison.
Let me guess, one time.
1928.
Oh, man.
How in the world did you get there?
Brett, I'm saying Bill was right.
I'm saying Bill was right,
Alabama's never
too.
played at Wisconsin. I mean, 28? Please.
Truly, how did you get there?
That's a great question. I don't know. There's got to be a documentary or a book out there, a chapter in a book somewhere about the game between Alabama and Wisconsin in
15-0 Badgers. I did not know that. I looked it up when
Wow.
Bill asked
Good
that rhetorically, and it was a fair question to
It's
ask.
a very fair question. That is incredible. Well, that'll be fun this weekend. Alabama, big-time favorites on the road against Wisconsin. But we need to go ahead and get to another break, and when we come back, we got Thursday Night Football tonight. The Bills and the Dolphins. We'll talk about what we expect to see. We'll do that next on Sports Time.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned in to real sports talk. Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
You or someone you know or care about has dealt with a difficult divorce. When facing divorce, you need the attorneys at Rice Law. Nick and Larry Rice lead the firm with 3 generations and 7 decades of experience. Located in Memphis, serving the entire state of Tennessee and North Mississippi. Rice Law is who you need to call. Simple or difficult divorce, they know how to handle it. Call Rice Law at 901-526-6701, or for more information, visit them at aboutdivorce.com. That's aboutdivorce.com.
My friends swim no matter the season, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can sometimes take me out of the moment. Now, thanks to Skyrizi and Clear Skin, count me in. With Skyrizi and Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
I don't think we really need anyone else to help us tell everyone how great Central Barbecue is.
Oh, I don't think we need it either, but I just thought it might be fun to have somebody more famous than us chime in on the best barbecue in Memphis.
Well, did he talk about how Central Barbecue slow smokes its meat for 24 hours to make sure that it's perfectly tender and doesn't need a sauce?
Well, no, not exactly.
Well, did he talk about how there are Central Barbecue locations all over town?
No.
Did you write his copy for him?
I didn't want to be insulting.
So what did he say?
Hi, I'm Dave Woloshin, the voice of the Memphis Tigers. I love Central Barbecue, and I vote. Does that work okay?
What does that even mean?
I don't know.
Looking for an engagement ring that'll really knock her socks off? You need to be at Genesis Diamonds. It's such a privilege at Genesis Diamonds for us to work with the world's finest designers, to be able to offer brands like Tacori and Verragio, and we're excited to be able to give you some prize. Genesis Vice President David Cooper, the craftsmanship, the detail, the quality, the individuality is bar none. Genesis has been selected as an exclusive provider for every top designer from to choose from. And if that's not enough, they can create
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you as we got a couple minutes left in this hour, and we've got Thursday night football tonight. The Bills and the Dolphins down in Sunshine, Florida. I guess not actually Sunshine, Florida, because that is a city in Florida, but
down in the sunshine
in the
South
Sunshine State, correct. Bills and Dolphins tonight will be on Prime Video. Close enough,
like Bill in Wisconsin.
Exactly, 100%.
We get in the ballpark, we're calling it
yes,
a hit.
Absolutely. But Prime Video game, if you don't have Prime, you don't want to get Prime, you don't want to worry about that, maybe you're out and about tonight, you can catch all of that action, as always, like you can catch all the action for the NFL right here on Sports 56. Our coverage will start at 7 o'clock. That kickoff scheduled right now for 7:15. But, Brett, the big story for this game is the injuries to the backfield for the Miami Dolphins. Raheem Mostert has been listed as out for tonight's game, and Devon Achane is listed as questionable. And I think if you see a lot of people, it looks like the lean, based on what a lot of people are hearing, is that it's unlikely he'll suit up tonight. So injuries in the backfield, the big story for the Dolphins tonight.
It is, and I won't say after week 2, and somebody's going to be 2-0 after tonight. Well, I guess they could tie, but I think somebody will be 2-0 after tonight. I won't say inside track to winning the AFC East, but that feels like a division that can be won by a game.
Sure. Absolutely. And, one of these teams is going to feel really, really good with a win tonight. And, so I know a lot of people, in this area, probably excited. I know you're never excited about injuries, but Jalen Wright, it looks like he's going to make his NFL debut tonight for the Dolphins, so that'll be fun to kind of watch. A young guy getting a shot with the Dolphins, and in recent years, I think Devon Achane is the example of it. With this system that Miami runs, you have an opportunity to have a big game and really make your name known, and so it's going to be interesting to see how they use the run game tonight for Miami. If we see more throwing from Tua against this Bills defense.
Both of these teams tonight were a little to a lot fortunate to start 1-0.
Sure.
Buffalo was down all day.
Yes, they were.
To the Cardinals, and the Cardinals just don't know how to win and can't close, and on the road at Buffalo that made it tough. And then Miami in a very close game with Jacksonville.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So, both teams that had really big-time tests on Sunday in their first games, and now they have to turn right around and play Thursday night. And now you look at both of these teams, both teams come in banged up, and you look at the Bills, a handful of defensive players out for them tonight or listed as questionable tonight. So, you've got teams that had to play in tight games, teams that are dealing with injuries, and teams that have short weeks. It's gonna make for a interesting game. I know John earlier today, he talked about he really likes the over in this game for a lot of the reasons we've been talking about. But I am interested. What do the Dolphins look like? And if you do come into this game with your two top backs out, do we see that offense turn towards Tua? You got to go out and win us a game with your arm rather than handing the ball off. And I think Tua at home, in this weather, and with those weapons, he can do that. And so, I'm fascinated to see, do we have a big game from Waddle? Does Tyreek Hill have a big game tonight just because they're having to rely on the pass game?
Quick turnaround. Our friend Gary Myers on the NFL, he tweeted this out earlier today. The NFL schedule makers didn't do the Jets any favors. Monday night opener in San Francisco against a top 2 team.
Yeah.
Arrive home early Tuesday morning, back on plane Saturday for noon game in Nashville.
Oh, man.
Then home opener on short rest next week, Thursday night football against New England. 3 games, 11 days, 40-year-old quarterback.
Yeah, not ideal, especially for the reason he mentioned of 40-year-old quarterback. It's a lot of travel. Now, I will say, in terms of 40-year-old quarterbacks, I think Aaron Rodgers does a lot of travel in his downtime. I mean, this is the guy that missed some practice because of a trip to Egypt. So I don't know if, jet lag, that plane, how much that will really affect him.
Yeah, but he wasn't getting hit in Egypt.
That's a great point. Well, that we know of, Brett. You never know.
True.
But no, that is definitely not ideal for the Jets, and definitely looking for them to look better, especially offensively and defensively, both sides of the ball this weekend against the Jets. But we need to wrap up this hour and get to a break. When we come back, Keith Smith from Spotrac and the Front Office Show, he'll join us to talk the NBA. That's next on Sports Time.
I think a lot about golf, and when I think golf, I think Miramichi. Did you know Miramichi Golf Course offers membership? It's a great way to play more golf for less out of pocket. Their memberships run for $300 a month plus tax, and that includes unlimited rounds and range balls, no extra card fees, priority tee time booking, and discounts in the pro shop. Oh, by the way, there's no initiation fee. Miramichi green fees, they'll allow you to choose the right rate at the right time on the right day for your needs. If morning tee times are more important, you can book up to 14 days ahead of time to reserve your spot. If rate is more important to you, there are discounted evening rates available that you can choose from. You'll find the lowest rates on Tuesday through Thursday afternoons. Sometimes you just need to escape the hustle and bustle of life. Miramichi Golf Course provides just the right place to solve that need. The name Miramichi means place of happy retreat. When you need a quiet, peaceful round of golf, please make your way to Miramichi.
For life's spectacular moments, only a real diamond will do. At Sissy's Log Cabin, you'll discover a brilliant selection of natural diamonds, along with our promise of unmatched quality and service. The only real diamond is a natural diamond from Sissy's. Find yours when you stop by any of our 6 locations or shop online at sissyslogcabin.com. Discover the natural diamond of your dreams only at Sissy's Log Cabin, because life's too short for ordinary jewelry.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Are you a victim of the timeshare trap and think there's no way out? I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, the original timeshare cancellation expert. And I'm here to tell you that there is a way out. All you need to do is give my office a call. I will send you a timeshare exit information kit absolutely free, explaining how the timeshare industry works and your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free info kit. 800-791-1313. That's 800-791-1313.
Paid for by Wesley Financial Group.
If you need glass replaced, there's only one name you need to know. Binswanger Glass, the largest full-service glass company in the U.S. They've been an industry leader for over 145 years. For all your residential, commercial, or auto glass needs, Binswanger Glass is the name you need to know. 24-hour emergency service for all commercial customers, plus a nationwide warranty on all professionally installed glass. Visit Binswanger Glass in Midtown at 340 South Hollywood, across from the Liberty Bowl. Visit binswingerglass.com. Binswanger Glass.
Admit it. When you start thinking about tastes of Memphis, you think treats, sweets. You think Dinstall's. For 122 years now. What is that, 5 generations? When people wanted something to bring to a party that will just make everybody happy, they bring out Dinstall's. 122 years of cashew crunch, of heavenly hash, of turtlettes, of their award-winning fudge. That's worldwide. It's known that well. Then there's the milk chocolate. It all starts there. There's the double-dip peanuts. And then every fall, those famous chocolate-covered strawberries with that fondant. And they won't tell you what's in the fondant, but it makes it oh so special. And easy to get to. 5 locations. There's where they make the candies in Pleasant View. There's Germantown. There's Collierville. There's even one downtown and in my neck of the woods in Laurelwood. You know what? 122 years made in Memphis and enjoyed by the whole world. Dinstall's.
Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery and setup, dependable service, and no long-term contracts. What an easy choice. Call Jeff Manus today. 901-382-2363 or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call now 382-2363. That's 382-2363.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. It's been a little bit slow today over here from time to time on 55 northbound, trying to get up through this construction zone between South Parkway and Macklemore. Trying to wrap up an earlier wreck we had on 240 West just past Sam Cooper. Hopefully they're going to get that mess cleaned up sooner than later. Heavy rain out here, rush hour traffic. Give yourself extra time out here. Lots of standing water on main and secondary arteries. It's going to be an interesting afternoon, so leave early. Hey, make a difference by adopting a pet at the Humane Society of Memphis and Shelby County. Check out the animals right now that are available for adoption. Log on to memphishumane.org. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis with John Harden. Weekdays from 11 to 1. Time to talk NBA with Keith Smith from Spot Rack and the Front Office Show, and on Twitter X at Keith Smith NBA. Here's Keith Smith talking basketball with Bryant and Brett.
Keith Smith joins us to talk the NBA from Spot Track and the Front Office Show. As every week we're closer and closer to preseason games, closer and closer to the season tipping off. Keith, thanks so much for joining us. I want to start off with the Grizzlies. There's a lot of people, that excitement building for the season after what happened last year with all of the injuries. Now it feels like everyone's really ready to see this team at full strength and what they can do in the Western Conference. And now with what they did in the draft, getting Zach Edey, didn't get to see much of him in Summer League because of those injuries and how careful the team was trying to be with him. But some of the players have already talked about what Zach Edey has shown in the offseason. I know there were some comments yesterday by Jaren Jackson about Zach Edey. John Moran has been seen working out with him this offseason. What will at least the start of the year look like for Zach Edey as he really tries to get acclimated to the NBA game?
I think Memphis will keep it extremely simple for him on both ends of the floor. I think they're going to ask him to, on offense, set screens, roll hard to the rim, finish around the basket area. I think when he is on defense, it's probably going to be a lot of drop coverage. It'll probably be a lot of, hey, just get up, show, and then drop back and be massive, which he is. And then on both ends, rebound, right? Just get rebounds, and that's what they're going to ask. I think you're going to see him be, it's a weird way to phrase this, but kind of unleashed a little bit to go after block shots and the like, more than what we saw at Purdue. At Purdue, he basically played the whole of every game, and they could not afford to have him off the court. So I think what you really saw with Zach Edey last year was he played very passively at times, and yet was still an extremely impactful defender. I think Memphis, because they've got some depth, they're going to say, hey, go after some blocks, pick up a few fouls. It is what it is, and, there. Now, all that said, I will not be surprised if the first couple weeks of the season things look like they're moving really fast for him. The question will be how quickly does he pick it up? How quickly does he recognize stuff? How quickly does it all start to become a little easier for him as the season goes along?
Keith, in the NFL, when you start a rookie quarterback, if you ever demote him, if you ever bench him, he's kind of scarred for the rest of that year for sure, if not the rest of the career with that team. What's the biggest concern to maybe wrecking that young big man in the NBA?
Asking them to do too much, especially on the defensive end. If you're asking them to get out and play at the level of the ball and hard switch and chase perimeter players around and all that. Yeah, guys like Jaren Jackson could come in and do it because they're special players. They're big time defenders like that. Guys like Zach Edey, that's not their game, and you're just making it really hard. And often what happens is they lose their confidence, and more often than not, fans see all that, and then they start getting real angry about, like, this guy can't do anything. Look, he's getting blown by. When the real question should be, why is he 40 feet from the basket anyway? What are we doing? He should be, protect him a little bit. So I think that's the bigger problem than offensively. It's when you're just asking them to do things they can't really do. If they come out and say, hey, Zach Edey, we want you to take 4 3-pointers a night, it's probably not going to go very well, and that could, offset a lot of, good positive development. I trust in Taylor Jenkins, the staff, and the front office. They're going to have the right thing in mind because they made that pick with the idea of, hey, this is not a short term. We need you today. We need you for the next 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. To be a big part of what we're trying to build here in Memphis to get back to being a sustainable winner.
And it's that fine line of you have to get trips up and down that course. You have to get experience. There's no experience like experience, but also we don't want to wreck you. We don't want to have to coddle you too much.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you can't put him out there and just be like, all right, just go stand near the basket and we'll try to throw it to the big kid like so many youth basketball games go. You need to have him actually out there, playing. And they're not going to do that because one thing is the NBA doesn't allow for it, right? You cannot have in the NBA guys out there who have no business being on the floor. They'll find them. They're too good for that. So yeah, I think the way they've developed so many players, their track record is far longer than we're going to take time in our short time together today to list out of guys they've done well with development on. And I just think that's why I feel so confident that Memphis will, whatever Zach Edey can be, they're going to get the best out of that.
Keith, I don't know there's another sport, and they're all very good at it, all the video, all the advanced scouting, but all the NBA advanced scouting. I mean, you go to a game and you see all the scouts in for a team that's coming in 2 weeks, and they're getting ready they are ready for everything. Maybe in youth baseball, and I was that kid. If you're scared the ball's going to get hit to you, you can count on it. On the nose, it's coming at you next pitch. In the NBA, when they smell blood, they abuse that guy on the court.
Yeah, I always say there's only 10 people in 94 feet. There's only so many places to hide, right? You can. It's not like football where it's, hey, we're going to run to the right because the left side is weak. Right, where you can't do that. You got to play. If you can't play, you might be able to get away and work around deficiencies in the regular season. But once we hit games that really matter, boy, they're going to find you, and you're going to be in trouble.
Mm-hmm. Keith, I know you've told us throughout the offseason how high you are on the Grizzlies bouncing back after last year. Just what happened last year with all the injuries, put it behind you, and this team is going to be a talented group. What's another team out there? Is there another team that you have a similar feeling with of, maybe not many people are talking about them, but they could be a lot better than they were last year?
With a lot better than they were last year, caveat, that makes it a little bit harder, but I'm pretty high on Orlando. I think Orlando is going to be really good. It would not shock me. Right now, I think it's kind of funny in both conferences. I think we've kind of settled into here's our defined top 4 in each conference, and you're not getting very many people picking outside of them. In the East, that's Boston, New York, Philadelphia, and Milwaukee. And in the West, it's Oklahoma City, Denver, Minnesota, and Dallas. And one of those 4 in each conference is not going to finish in the top 4. That's just history tells us that. If something goes wrong for them, maybe it doesn't go as wrong as it went for Memphis last year, and everybody misses time and they fall all the way down in the lottery. But it may be somebody's out, things don't come together the way we want, and they're the 6th team in the conference. So I think Orlando has a real chance in the East. I think a lot of people are very focused on Cleveland. I think people are focused on Indiana because they made that run a year ago. And I think Orlando is a team that, they're little quietly, they kind of jump right past both of those teams in the regular season this year, and then they're the team that replaces whatever team underachieves a little bit out of that top 4. So they're a team I think has a chance to be really, really good.
Keith, I'm with you on Orlando. I know you know that situation, the whole league very well, and particularly that one. But are you a little scared that they may start, but they may be becoming what we always are with New Orleans? Kind of look out for New Orleans, and it always seems to come apart or fall a little short for New Orleans.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. I think with New Orleans, where the lack of trust right now maybe comes in is where it feels like we're in like year 4 of that with them. If we go maybe even past, it might even be year 5 or 6. I go all the way back to, remember when they got the number 1 pick, they got Zion, they went in and started making all these trades. And it was like, oh, man, New Orleans is loading up. They're going to make a real run. And then it just never kind of happened because of injuries. And I think, now my personal issue with the Pelicans is they've got 6 guys that all think should start, and So that means you're already in trouble because one of them can, and none of them are center. So that means two of them aren't going to start. And I guarantee you, whoever they are, they're not going to be real happy with that. So they've got some roster rebalancing that needs to happen there. But I think with Orlando, what makes me feel good about it is I think they've built it in the quote unquote the right way, the correct way of we're not going to skip steps. We're not going to try to fast forward things. If it takes a little while to get there, it takes a little while to get there, and we're just going to build this thing up slowly but surely. And then it's been, let's add this piece. Let's add this piece. And then this year they went a little bit bigger with Contavious Caldwell-Pope, but it's kind of a perfect fit for everything that they needed. So I feel pretty good about the way they've gone about it as much as the fact that, yeah, it's still a little bit in theory.
Yeah, talking to Keith Smith from Spot Track in the Front Office Show. He joins us every week to talk the NBA. We know this year will be the last year of the television rights package, and then we'll go to ESPN, NBC, and Amazon Prime. I read a story yesterday that was talking about what this upcoming year could look like for Charles Barkley. I know he's talked a lot about how he wants to remain committed to TNT and stay with them, but the ESPN chief of content said on Tuesday that ESPN would be extremely interested in Charles Barkley if he became a free agent after this season. And NBC chairman also added that they would be extremely interested in Charles Barkley. Do you think we get a bidding war for Chuck after this year?
Hey, I'm going to throw in there, if he wants to join us every Thursday and, hang out, I'll take that too. Or if he wants to come on Front Office Show with Trevor Lane and I, we'll have that as well,
Absolutely.
So, but yeah, right. I mean, he's, in terms of basketball, he is kind of what I like to say is like the great equalizer in that real basketball fans do respect his thoughts, because as much as they play the whole who he play for game and all that stuff with him, when it's the very best teams. He is watching the games. He doesn't just repeat the same old tired stuff that we hear a lot of people repeat, but he's also extremely funny. He's very outspoken. So a lot of the folks who are, more casual and are like, I just want to have some laughs and watch a game, they love him too. So I think we're in a spot with Charles Barkley where, any of those groups would love to have him. I'm sure ESPN loves the idea of putting him across from Stephen A. Smith and letting them do battle on a nightly basis, on their airwaves in studio shows and everything else, because that'd be must-watch TV. So it doesn't surprise me at all that they're going to get him. He has been extremely loyal to TNT, but at some point, I know TNT's talking all this, we're still going to have a show, and we're going to do, other sports, and we'll do X, Y, and Z. I don't know what any of that means and what that's going to look like, and to me, that starts to feel a little bit different if it's not the NBA. I don't know how much interest people are going to have to watch those guys tune in to talk about college football and things like that.
Keith, I'm with you. I love the irreverence. I love you don't know what you're going to get from him. I like that it's not repeating the company line from Charles Barkley. So if he's our favorite irreverent NBA voice, that irreverence, don't misunderstand that's not credible. You can be irreverent and credible. Who is your kind of favorite one playing it straight on TV?
That's a good question. It's like
mine's Stephen A.
Who's that?
Stephen A.
Yeah, sometimes I think he's playing a character. I think all the yelling and screaming and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my favorite guy, he's only on, he's rarely ever on a studio show, but a guy like Zach Lowe. Because I made this point to someone the other day. Anytime Zach Lowe talks or you read anything he writes, he educates you without making you feel like you're uneducated. And that's such a skill that I think is missing so often. He just makes me a smarter and better basketball fan because he's very, hey, here's what I'm seeing. Here's what this looks like. Here's what this means. And he does that really great, whether it's on the shows, some of the NBA Today stuff that he does, or it's in his columns. He's probably my favorite kind of more straight guy. Because I think when the guys who are on the nightly shows, I think to some extent they're all playing a little bit of a character there, where they're saying some stuff I'm not fully sure they really believe. I think it's more being said to get a rise in reaction.
Yeah. When you earlier this week, we saw the big contract extension for Jamal Murray, 4-year, $209 million max. The Denver Nuggets have been a team a lot of people have talked about this offseason because what's happened to them. Not a ton of moves in free agency. They lost a couple of guys, but now they get this extension on the books for Jamal Murray. What did you think of this, and what do you think about this Denver Nuggets team entering the season?
Yeah, I think the Nuggets were in kind of a spot where they almost kind of had to do this. I don't think there was many other options for them because the risk you run is let him play it out and then he's a free agent. I don't know that I love that idea necessarily. I will say it's probably fine for this year and next year. It's the latter 2 years that I'm a little worried about. What are those going to look like for Jamal Murray? If it's the Jamal Murray we saw in last year's playoffs, and then in the Olympics, I'm a little concerned because that wasn't great. So something is either wrong or like physically or something's just wrong with his game. I don't know which one it is. I hope it's just wrong with his game and he can get it sorted. Because if it's something physically, my worry is at this point, we've seen him go through quite a few injuries. So what is that going to look like? Is he going to hold up? If he can be the Jamal Murray from their title season, great, fine. This is a no-brainer. Off we go. We got him and Jokic, and we've got other stuff we got to figure out. But give me just a handful of other decent players around those two, and I'm a playoff team every year. Get better than decent players, and I'm a title contender. So I don't have any issue with it. I'm just a little bit nervous about the out years on that contract.
Keith, we talked about Zach Edey and his development and how closely we'll all be watching and monitoring it and seeing what the Grizzlies do, and we all trust that it will be handled well. Who's the rookie that you're going to be watching that you want to see some other organization? Hey, make sure you take care of this and do this right. How you finish is often how you start out.
Man, you guys take the rest of the night off. I'll finish out your whatever you got left here because I could go on and on.
Who's number one in that list?
Yeah. I think probably the biggest guy for me, and it's only because he was the number one player on my board, is I want to see what happens with Alex Sarr in Washington. I really like that they went out and got Jonas Valanciunas just to kind of protect him a little bit. I think we're going to see him, if Sarr's getting beaten up a little, I think you're going to see them kind of look over and say, hey, go take care of that.
Enforce.
And I think Valanciunas is one of the old school guys who will do it, right? It's kind of gone out of vogue in the league a little bit, but he's still someone who's, hey, keep knocking our guy around. I'm going to take your guy down next. I'm really, really excited to see what he develops into because I think in a lot of ways, much like Victor Wembanyama, this is our first wave of the big men who they fully grew up playing this all-around style of basketball. Other guys came to it and came into the NBA that way, but you could still tell they were told, hey, you're a big kid, get down in the post. These guys grew up in a world where it is, hey, you're big, but you can shoot? Great, go ahead and shoot. I don't really care. This is the first time we're seeing that come through. Wembanyama's in his whole own class, and I want to see what Alex Sarr can become.
Yeah. Talking about young players, a young team that kind of took the NBA by storm last year, the Oklahoma City Thunder, that kind of old cliche. Nobody really saw them coming last year, and now they're going to turn from the hunters to the hunted this upcoming season. Can they continue to have the success that they found last year with this core group of guys, or does it kind of level out a little bit?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think the single biggest mistake we make in the NBA is, well, all young teams get better. The development's not linear like that.
Right.
Sometimes it takes a little bit of a plateau. Sometimes it goes the other way. Sometimes guys get as good as they get by year 2 or 3. That said, I think there's room for growth for a lot of their guys. I think, and it's room for growth from an already pretty high starting point. If you think about a guy like Chet Holmgren, can he get better? Yeah, 100%. And that's kind of scary because he's already pretty good. And then I think getting Isaiah Hartenstein and getting Alex Caruso, those just they're perfect fits for what this team needs. I know people have gotten all worked up over, is Chet Holmgren going to, what's he going to be? Is he, he's so good because he plays the 5, do we lose that advantage? Nothing says you can't still play him at the 5. He's still going to play the 5 a lot. It's, the question becomes, how much other stuff can you do when you're playing Minnesota and you're playing Denver Now you have Hartenstein to throw at those guys. And Caruso, man, talk about just adding another bulldog to that group of guys that can all defend. The difference is he can make shots, and he can make the shots Josh Giddey can, and that's pretty exciting for the Thunder.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch them play. I know there's still some bad blood between Grizzlies and Thunder fans at times for what happened in past playoffs, but they are a fun team to watch.
We never forget, do we?
No, never.
That's what makes it great, right?
That's right, Keith.
You know, when you have that bad blood, that's part of the whole fun of the NBA. And I love that we've got some of those rivalries that have developed, and they develop naturally, right? They're not forced.
Playoff
that's
time.
That's the thing. Yeah. You see a team a couple times in the playoffs, and especially if it gets a little one-sided, boy, does the other side not really like that one.
No.
Insert Oklahoma City and Steve Adams and Zach Randolph here.
That's right. Yes, absolutely. Well, Keith, as always, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll do it again next Thursday.
Absolutely. Sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks, Keith.
Thank you, Keith, so much. Thank you so much. We didn't ask him this, but what did you think, Brian, on the Trae Young? If I'd only been 6'8", I wish I had $1 for every time through my life I thought if I could only be 6'8" too, Brian.
Brett, if we hadn't run out of time, it was going to be my next question to Keith of, do you think Trae Young is the best player if he was 6'8"? Hilarious, because that's one thing that Trae Young has been known for, is his size and how he plays the game and going up against bigger guys. And so just to hear him on a podcast say, I'd be the greatest player ever if I was 6'8", a lot of confidence in him. I don't know if I agree, but certainly doesn't lack confidence.
Here's my guy. If he could have been a little bit bigger, he'd have been heavyweight champion of the world, and he's already great. Allen Iverson.
Oh, yeah, that's a really good one. AI certainly would be much better if he was 6'8" than Trae Young if Trae Young was 6'8".
I mean, maybe the toughest human being.
100%. That's a good one.
How he got knocked around and late in his career with all those thigh injuries.
Mm-hmm.
I'm courtside when we sat real close, and he hiked up his shorts, and you could see he was wearing football thigh pads under his NBA shorts.
Holy cow! Wow.
Because just so many of those hits. And that was when he was that was before he was with those few games with the Grizzlies.
Sure.
When when he had the rear end injuries, he said to the media,
Correct.
Asked if he was still hurt, and he said, "Yeah, my hurts from sitting so much." But if he had been any bigger, he was great like he was.
Absolutely. But man, if he had that size, boy.
But I just wonder who would be our all if that only been 6'8" team.
It's a great question.
It is.
Have to work on that.
I don't mind Trae Young saying that.
No, I don't either. And the podcast,
he needs a big year.
He was on. He does need a big year, but a little tongue in cheek, and obviously he knows that a lot of people use his size to poke fun at him, and so having a little fun with it. I can never get mad at it.
It's rough and tumble out there in the podcast
world,
isn't it?
Oh, very, very.
Keith Smith was with us, and he was with us on our Sissy's Log Cabin guest line. All our guests come up here on the Sissy's Log Cabin guest line. That great location they have at Poplar and Perkins in Laurelwood at 4542 Poplar. Bill Jones, his great team, here to stay. Some blow in and out overnight, not Sissy's Log Cabin, part of the fabric of the community. You can look around town and see it with Tigers Athletics, the official jeweler of the Memphis Grizzlies, the floor seat lounge at Grizzlies games, and the display cases you can see at Grizzlies game back in the Sissy's Log Cabin lounge at FedEx Forum. I can't wait till we get back down to games. 9,000 square foot store in Laurelwood with expanded lines for Rolex, Cartier, diamonds, and more. The Mid-South's largest selection of one-of-a-kind jewelry, engagement rings, wedding bands, necklaces, earrings for that perfect occasion. They have it covered for you. That Rolex section at Sissy's, just that feels like something you would feel like being in New York City or on Madison or on Michigan Avenue in Chicago. Unsurpassed value, exceptional service, expansive selection, and a truly extraordinary shopping experience, because life's too short for ordinary jewelry.
Well, we need to go ahead and get to another break, and when we come back, we're going to talk some wagering with Doug Kazarian. He joins us next.
Add a little fun to your lunch break. Join Johnny Radio for Sports 56 Happy Hour from 11 to 1 every weekday on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Get your tailgate season going now and win a free tailgate package from Buster's Butcher. Stop in Buster's Butcher, 199 South Highland Street, and register to win Ice Mule Cooler, 4 Yeti Coasters, a $200 gift certificate, and some Buster's branded swag. Tailgate package valued at $500, no purchase necessary, 1 entry per person. Winner drawn 10 a.m. October 1st. Buster's Butcher offering the finest selection of curated meats, cheeses, prepared foods, and more. Learn more at bustersbutcher.com.
Ken Garland, you are in your 72nd year of business. Your son William is now joining you. What do you think is the key to your longevity in the building business?
My dad started the business in 1965, and I think being on the job sites daily and being accessible to homeowners has been a key to our success.
You guys have a work ethic, as you like to say. You're not hiring people to be on the site. You guys are there every day.
We interact with the subcontractors multiple times a day on each job site. I think that has been a key, as well as using the same subcontractors 20 plus years in most cases.
When you talk about materials, what is the first thing you're thinking about when somebody comes to you to build a home?
We're just trying to meet the expectations of the client and the homeowner and the architect and give them what their dream is.
When you get a Ken Garland home, what do you guarantee?
We'll be there after the job is finished. We're still accessible to all our clients.
Now I need to know, how do I get a hold of Ken Garland?
You can reach us at kengarland.com.
I want to learn how to cook, but I keep ordering takeout.
Accomplishing goals is hard, but when your goal is to learn a new language, Babbel makes it easy. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel will help you start having conversations in as little as 3 weeks. Words and phrases you'll actually use. So when someone asks, "How's your French going?" you can say,
Babbel facilite grandement l'apprentissage des nouvelles langues.
Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
Napa Cafe celebrates 26 years in 2024. Hi, I'm Glenda Hastings, owner of Napa Cafe, and I want to thank you for making us part of your dining experiences. Treat yourself tonight with a delightful dinner. Maybe start with an appetizer like our baked sweet peculiar peppers stuffed with goat cheese and mozzarella, finished with basil pistou, and move on to one of our cozy dishes like the double chocolate stout braised boneless beef short ribs with tonkatsu sauce and creamy mashed potatoes, or a fresh seafood dish like our pan-roasted ginger buttered sea bass with cilantro soy vinaigrette. I get hungry just talking about it. Don't forget about dessert, our famous sweet buttermilk pie with brown sugar sauce, or drink your dessert with one of our signature dessert cocktails, like the lemon cheesecake martini, lemony, icy, frothy, and dusted with graham cracker crumbs. Napa Cafe, open Wednesday through Saturday for dinner starting at 5 o'clock. For reservations, visit our website at napacafe.com. Come join us as we celebrate 26 years of Napa Cafe. We can't wait to serve you.
To understand what makes Genesis Diamonds so different than other jewelry stores, you have to go back over 40 years to the diamond cutting capital of Tel Aviv, Israel. That's where Genesis owner Boaz Ramon grew up, in the center of the diamond universe. His connections with the best diamond cutters allowed him special access, giving rise to a thriving wholesale business here in the United States. Then, after a few years, this wholesaler changed the game and started selling these precious diamonds direct to the public at the same prices he had sold to the jewelry stores. The no middleman concept became an instant success. Today, Genesis Diamonds provides that extraordinary value to people right here in Middle Tennessee, leading the industry with the highest quality diamonds that still come straight from the best cutters, offered at the guaranteed best price of any jewelry store in America. Genesis Diamonds, a truly revolutionary concept with a unique history rooted in quality, committed to excellence, and always focused on value. Genesis Diamonds, luxury premium Rolexes, and popular Morgans Extended.
Jason's Deli. When you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises. Just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it. Because you're not just taking the bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets, vegan and gluten-free options available, convenience, and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at Jason'sDeli.com. So whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli, locations at Ridgeway and the Marketplace Center, Upper Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and Goodman Road in Highland Branch. Jason's Deli is wholesome food and no surprises.
Do you
best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery and setup, dependable service, and no long-term contracts. An easy choice. Call Jeff Manus today, 901-382-2363, or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call now, 382-2363. That's 382-2363.
So you need to sell your house? I have the solution. Call 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Call my buddy Bill and I buy houses. Any house, any area, as is. It's literally as simple as that. Just pick up your phone, call 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Call my buddy Bill and I buy houses. Guaranteed to close in 5 days. If you need to sell your house fast, call Bill at 901-406-1101. That's Bill and I buy houses.
This Sports 56 traffic report is brought to you by Luttrell Belting. They keep you moving.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. A lot of slipping and sliding going on out here. Give yourself plenty of extra time for this heavy rain that's coming down out here in the middle of rush hour traffic. It's increased even more down 240 southbound here in South Parkway, all the way down to Norris. 55's been a little bit sluggish from time to time, trying to get up in that construction zone. They are northbound 55 between South Parkway and Macklemore. Again, leave early. Give yourself extra time and slow it down out here. Weimer's Jewelry, 7525 Highway 64 is your full-service, family-owned jewelry store here in Memphis. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you, and joining us now on our Sissy's Log Cabin guest line, Doug Kazarian out in Vegas from WagerWatch and OnlyPlayers.com. He joins us now. Doug, thanks so much for joining us again. We had so much fun with you last week and got a lot of winners from you. 3-1 last week on the picks you gave to us. And let's start off with the games tonight, or the game tonight in the NFL. Bills going down to Miami to face off against the Dolphins. Right now, Miami, slight favorite, 2.5. That total sitting at 48.5. And now we're learning a lot of injuries in the backfield for the Miami Dolphins. What do you like in this game tonight?
Yeah, so sharp money came in on under 48.5 and moved the market to 48, which got pushed back up to 48.5 at some shops, as you mentioned. Now, the 2.5 is just classic NFL odds making. They're not going to go to 3. 3 is the most common margin of victory. About 15% of games land exactly 3 since the extra point distance was moved back. So just odds makers know if they put up a 3, all the respected professional money will come in, and therefore they just don't want to get involved at all. So it's one of those things where it's just going to stay 2.5, and maybe the juice will move a little bit. But, short week, humidity, although it's a night game, not day game. Just all signs point to Miami. It's just they really should have lost last week. They had the big turnover and then the Tyreek Hill long touchdown. But Buffalo's defense is very limited, and Josh Hill just does so much for this team. And ultimately, I got to side, like in a pick'em league, I'm taking Miami. But I'm not betting the game. I just think it's one of those coin flip games. But it's Miami or pass for me, and then a small bet on the under. You mentioned the injuries. Mostert's out. I just think it's a big number, and Josh Allen does so much. So, that's where I would head right now.
Doug, in Las Vegas, with all these record TV ratings, college and pro, the NFL just couldn't have scripted a better week one. And with the wave of legalization around the country to be able to bet on games in Vegas, is the handle, is it still up? Is it good times for Vegas at the sports books?
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's recession proof and all that, man. Yeah. The betting market always reflects the sports kind of interest. So if there's a big game like Colorado with Deion Sanders, their games have so much handle, even though they're not ranked and they're not good. So it's one of those things. If something is driving interest in the sports world, there's going to be action. I think Caitlin Clark is a perfect example of that. So when then there's a big weekend, opening weekend, like you alluded to, man. The interest is going to follow at the wagering counter as well.
And a real new thing this weekend, it's a Big Ten game. It's Indiana visiting UCLA, the game at the Rose Bowl. Long time since UCLA's played at the Rose Bowl Stadium. Had to go back a while, but that is a Big Ten game. And this would be a great matchup in the 1970s between Bob Knight and John Wooden on the basketball court. But I know you have a good feel about this game. Break it down for our listeners, Doug.
Yeah, I know. The Hoosiers forever always wanted to win the Big Ten and go out to the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
Well, they got their Rose Bowl trip. It's just a little different. So they're at UCLA and road favorites here. And, for me, I had heard grumblings about the Bruins all summer. And their win total got hammered under. Like, they're not going bowling, all that stuff. Tough schedule, things like that. And then they were 2-touchdown favorites at Hawaii, and you just saw how inept the team is. Now, the defense was okay, but Hawaii offense is nothing to write home about. So even though there's a bye week, I just don't see how UCLA can hang with an Indiana offense that's humming. Now, the Hoosiers haven't played quality opponents, but they put up over 100 points in their first 2 games. They have the new coach that comes over. They have Rourke, the quarterback from the MAC, who transferred. There's just a lot to like, and I grew up in LA about 15 minutes from the Rose Bowl. It's a beautiful scene, but this ain't exactly going into Death Valley, okay? It's going to be a lot of Hoosier fans out there. It's a nice, peaceful day. It's not on campus. It's not a rough place to fly to and play. There's no intimidation factor. So I expect Indiana to handle their business and cover this 3-point spread on the road.
Another college game, Oklahoma this weekend. Doug, I have no idea what to do with this Oklahoma team. I watched them in their first game, and we talked to you, I believe, about Oklahoma before. I watched them in their first game against Temple. They look really good against a Temple team that I think is going to be really, really bad. And then last week, they go up against a Houston team that didn't show much in their first game against UNLV, and they really can't move the ball. They struggle all afternoon, and now they're facing, a team that could give them trouble this week in Tulane. We already saw what they did last week with Kansas State. Do you have a feel on this game?
So I've been involved in these Oklahoma games all season, and I'm a little gun shy. You just got to stay nimble on these things, and I'm ready to punt on their offense because Jackson Arnold is mediocre at best. And the O-line, I really saw struggling early. But then they played Houston next week after that opener, and I was like, I don't think this is the week to fade them. But sure enough, it was. They only mustered 16 points. For all those Seinfeld fans, it's a bizarro Oklahoma team. They have an excellent defense, NFL guys running all around, but the offense is really limited and the O-line is limited. So I think we're going to have an under here. Now, it's gotten really low at 46 or so, but Tulane plays with a slow pace, is decent in the trenches. I think we're going to see, I like the team total for the Sooners under 30.5 as well. I just don't think their offense is that smooth, and they have Tennessee on deck, and that's a monster game in Norman. And for those who like to bet advanced lines at last check at DraftKings, you can get the Vols at -3. I made the number 5.5. So, and the over/under FanDuel posted an advanced 61.5, and I think that's way high. So if you want to get involved there, but I'm on the under in that Oklahoma game. They're like the Ravens back in the peak Ravens. They're all defense, no offense, and they have one receiver, the transfer from Purdue, but besides that, man, they're extremely limited.
Mr. Vegas, Doug Kazarian with us, and we are so glad to have you join us on our Sissy's Log Cabin guest line talking this weekend. And last week you were great to us. Tell our listeners how they can, during the course of the weekend, they can get more information from you and about you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm on my own now. The site is onlyplayers.com, and we also have an app. And basically, I'm trying to revolutionize sort of this business, or at least be innovative. Maybe revolutionize is a strong word. But I just feel there's so much different things you can do in this space than just content and selling picks. So I have a lot of analysis. We break down games. I kind of aggregate all the information for everyone. So, for example, tonight's game is broken down in 1 to 1.5 minute videos, and we do that all weekend. And then I tell you what I'm betting on, I tell you what I'm hearing, but we also set up sessions of one-on-one coaching, webinars, and things along those lines. It's about growing the better. It's about building. It's about knowledge. It's a path to of growth, kind of like a golf instructor. You get chipping and pitching lessons or one-on-one lessons. That's the concept. Instead of just straight copying someone's picks, there's just so much more to that, and that's what we do. So I do individual one-on-one Zoom sessions. I do a Slack channel or with each person as well, so that there's communication throughout the games that they have questions on, and that way I can build lesson plans, so to speak, for the next Zoom call. And that's how we operate. And then obviously I have a team behind me, and we do videos and edits and graphics. But that's the bulk of it. Is we want to share this wealth and figure out ways that the public can access it.
And, Doug, that's what we love. Bryant and I run. We run from anybody wanting to pump that 900 number or the 10,000 star lock of the week or got inside information. We run from that. We like just the facts, Jack. We like it laid out like you lay it out. Let's ask about the local team. You talk about punting on teams. A lot of people punting on Florida State. Saturday, and ironically, Florida State's got a really good punter. That's probably the strength of the team right now for FSU. What do you think about the hometown Memphis Tigers getting 6.5 on the road early for us Saturday morning, 11 a.m., real early for you out in Sin City, 9 a.m. for you to get that game, or 10 rather, for you to get that game when they're playing the Noles on the road at Doak Campbell?
Yeah, I mean, this is a classic case of betting kind of 101. There's people that saying, well, the advanced line all summer was much higher. It's like, well, yeah, but we have more data points and no, Florida State's not good. So for me, it's Memphis or pass. Now, a lot of times in betting, you want to be early to the party and not late. But I don't think there's really a rush to be early on the Florida State value train, Like, is this number on the lower side? Sure, it can be. But are you willing to bet that DJU has figured it out and lay points and all that? I'm sure people claim value, but that word value gets thrown around recklessly. People don't know what they're talking about. I think the market is just really soft in September. There's a lot of fluidity. We just talked about it with Indiana being a road favorite at UCLA. With this Florida State line, we just know a lot more with FSU. In fact, over the last decade, in all but 1 year, there's been a preseason top 10 that has finished the year unranked. And it looks like the Seminoles are that team. We'll see.
They sure do.
But DJU is shaky at best. They haven't gone to the backup like Florida has. And so I'm going to grab the points with the Tigers who, by all accounts, look pretty solid and reliable. And I just can't say the same for FSU. And, the Doak should be rocking, but it's not going to be rocking like they were if they were 2-0. So and like you said, it's an afternoon kickoff. It's not a night game. So that gives Memphis a little bit less of an obstacle to clear. So I have to grab the point with the Tigers.
I love that. I know a lot of people driving down the street love to hear that as well. Last thing for you, Doug, before we let you go. We can't let you go without talking Sunday night football, and it's going to be one that a lot of people watch with intrigue. The Chicago Bears and their young quarterback going up against the Texans, who have another young quarterback that really shined last year. Right now, the Texans, a 6.5-point favorite. That total sitting at 45.5. What do you like Sunday night?
So I really like Houston. This will be a litmus test game, so to speak. This is the largest the Texans with D'Amico Ryans and C.J. Stroud have been favored. It's not an enormous spread, but it's worth mentioning. But I just think Caleb Williams, I mean, with all these rookie quarterbacks, not just this year, but previous classes, there's going to be an adjustment period. And we saw how green he was last week, and I just think the Bears got a lot of holes, and they were lucky to win that game. And I don't think they're a mature enough team to win, especially in dramatic fashion, and then go on the road and maintain that level of play. I mean, we saw it last year. Detroit laid a lot of eggs, and that Detroit team last year was way better than this Bears team. But the Lions were really good off losses because they were a young team that hadn't figured out how to play with success, kind of like the Chiefs do or the Niners do. So I just don't know if the Bears are mature enough and experienced enough to kind of take winning, channel it, put it to bed, and then go the next week and try to, work with a clean slate, so to speak. So that's where I am on that game. I know really, really respected syndicate group bet the Texans -6. That's why the market today moved to 6.5. But I think there'll be resistance at 7. So I think I think it's going to be a steady 6.5 between now and Sunday night kickoff.
Interesting. And then, Doug, that's one thing. It's been so great having you these last 2 weeks because not only are you giving us picks, but you're also talking us through why those lines are moving, what's happening. And I know I really appreciate that as a bettor, and I'm sure so many other people listening do as well. But, Doug, thank you so much for joining us again, and hopefully we can get you on again soon.
You got it. Thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it, and best of luck to everyone this weekend.
Thanks, Doug.
Good luck to you, Doug. Thank you.
Doug Kazarian joining us out in Vegas at Wager Watch and OnlyPlayers.com. Well, I know we're about getting really close to dinner time, and I'm getting really hungry, and it's a busy weekend as well. So if you're going to high school, maybe tailgating before a game or a watch party with a lot of the local teams out of town, Memphis down in Tallahassee, the Rebels on the road, Tennessee, make sure you make your weekend better with the commissary. Grab a meal at either of their locations in Germantown or Collierville, or take it to go. Start your meal with an appetizer like the cheese plate, chicken wings, or my favorite, the barbecue nachos. For more than 25 years, the commissary has been a staple in this area, and a big part of it is because of the quality food they serve. My go-to is the ribs, but it's hard to resist the barbecue shoulder. Get it chopped or pulled. Get it a plate or by the pound. It also comes in handy with the sandwich packs. Feed the whole group with a 6-pack, 8-pack, or even a 12-pack. And don't forget about the delicious desserts like the banana pudding, the brownie, or the lemon ice box pie. Oh man, I'm getting hungry just talking about it. And the commissary also offers catering. So make sure, give them a call, 901-754-5540. That's 901-754-5540, or go online to commissarybbq.com. Again, that's commissarybbq.com, and make sure you stop by one of their 2 locations in Germantown, open from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m., and Collierville, open from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. with the TVs. It's a great spot to catch a game and get some of that delicious barbecue. So make sure you stop by the Collierville this weekend and make that weekend just a little bit better. Well, let's go ahead and get to another break, and when we come back, it'll be time for Big Number of the Day.
Join the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, for Wolo and Friends. Weekday mornings from 10 to 11, here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
You or someone you know or care about has dealt with a difficult divorce. When facing divorce, you need the attorneys at Rice Law. Nick and Larry Rice lead the firm with 3 generations and 7 decades of experience. Located in Memphis, serving the entire state of Tennessee and North Mississippi. Rice Law is who you need to call. Simple or difficult divorce, they know how to handle it. Call Rice Law at 901-526-6701, or for more information, visit them at aboutdivorce.com. That's aboutdivorce.com.
Hungry for that delicious smash burger flavor? Dyer's Cafe is the original smash burger since 1912 and still smashing burgers in Collierville's historic town square. Come out for their lunch specials Monday through Friday, 11 to 2. Ask about their world-famous split dog and authentic Chicago or New York dog. Try the leaner side of Dyer's with a grilled chicken sandwich or freshly made salad. Also serving lakes, Delta-raised catfish, Pasquale's tamales, and a customer favorite hand-breaded onion rings. Dyer's, serving world-famous burgers, dogs, and shakes in Collierville's historic town square.
I want to learn how to cook, but I keep ordering takeout.
Accomplishing goals is hard, but when your goal is to learn a new language, Babbel makes it easy. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel will help you start having conversations in as little as 3 weeks. Words and phrases you'll actually use. So when someone asks, "How's your French going?" you can say,
Babbel facilite grandement l'apprentissage des nouvelles langues.
Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
Make your next grill your last with the Big Green Egg at East Memphis Steaks. Smoke, bake, roast, sear, and grill, all with a lifetime warranty. Ready to cook in only 15 minutes with good temperatures for below 200, above 700, and anywhere in between. Change your at-home cooking experience for life with our unmatched all-night iron-fired grill flavor that has our customers raving. Get more Big Green Egg and all our accessories at East Memphis Steaks on the corner of South Flag Station and Colts Road.
Admit it. When you start thinking about tastes of Memphis, you think treats, sweets. You think Dinstall's. for 122 years now. What is that, 5 generations? When people wanted something to bring to a party that will just make everybody happy, they bring out Dinstall's. 122 years of Cashew Crunch, of Heavenly Hash, of Turtlettes, of their award-winning fudge. That's worldwide. It's known that well. Then there's the milk chocolate. It all starts there. There's the double-dip peanuts. And then every fall, those famous chocolate-covered strawberries with that fondant. And they won't tell you what's in the fondant, but it makes it oh so special. And easy to get to. 5 locations. There's where they make the candies in Pleasant View. There's Germantown. There's Collierville. There's even one downtown and in my neck of the woods in Laurelwood. You know what? 122 years made in Memphis and enjoyed by the whole world. Dinstall's.
Now back to Sportstime on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Brian Davis.
Big Daddy.
Hello, Big Brand. It's a guy, he wants to be big, then he gets big, he doesn't want to be big anymore, then he gets small, but the suit's too big.
Big Daddy.
The big boy.
You're a big guy. I think she's trying to pull a fast one on Big Daddy.
The big number of the day.
Well, Brett, we just talked some handicapping with Doug Kazarian in our last segment, and so this one kind of is along the lines, at least I'm probably going to use it along those lines. So if anybody's listening wants a little player prop tonight for the Thursday night football game, I find this very, very interesting. My big number is the number 13. One player prop that I see a lot of people bet on. I know Alan Bell throws it out there every once in a while, especially for these primetime marquee games, is quarterbacks to throw multiple touchdowns. It will be set at 1.5, over under 1.5 touchdowns thrown. Well, I saw this stat earlier today and it jumped out to me. Including the playoffs, Josh Allen has thrown for multiple touchdowns in all 13 of his career games against Miami. No other quarterback in NFL history has gone more than 10 consecutive games against a single opponent with 2 or more touchdowns at any point in their career.
And that's who they get tonight. And you would think they would have a better book on him in the division, but he's that good.
Yeah, how much they see him, you would think. Yeah. But no, he has been great against them.
Yeah, so much for a better book.
That's right.
When they're that good, they overcome it. Last Saturday, Alan Bowman was kind of the hero of the Oklahoma State comeback against Arkansas. So my big number is 605. He didn't go for 605 last week, but he has in his 7-year college football career. In fact, he only went for 326 against Arkansas, but he went for 605 back in 2018.
Whoa.
In his freshman year at Texas Tech, he threw for 605 yards for Texas Tech in a game against Houston. I saw him that year in his opening game of his college career. Ole Miss opened against Texas Tech at NRG Stadium, played well and defeated them, and he's still playing college football.
Wow. Brett, I think I was also a freshman in college in 2018. I wasn't throwing for 600 yards, but college feels like 4 or 5 years ago at this point.
Okay, I know injury, and I know COVID, and I know the portal, and I know the freedom and the liberation, all that. But at some point, you've had your shot at playing college football.
Yes, yeah. Well, and I always hear the argument, especially from guys I've known in the past that have played, or were playing, especially at the University of Memphis or any college. And, they say that people they know that have been in college and still playing for the 5, 6, 7 years, they get to a point where they kind of start saying, I've had enough. This is all fun. And what a lot of people forget is while they're in their 7th, 8th year, whatever they might be doing, 6th, 5th, whatever, they still got to take classes. And
something.
They got to do something. And they're like, at this point, I've had enough college. I've had enough school. And I don't know if playing another year is enough for me to have to go take classes. And so a lot of them say I'm done. I hope some
of these guys, and I bet they have, I hope some of them have taken advantage of. Now, I know with all those transfers, I think he's at his 3rd spot, Texas Tech, Michigan, and Oklahoma State. There might be another stop in there. I know those 3.
Sure.
And I know when you leave, the degree plan changes at a lot of places when you move that much. But I hope, surely, a bachelor's,
sure,
and maybe some postgraduate work somewhere, and take advantage of it.
Definitely, and we've seen some guys do that. I know, Brady White is an
Sure
example.
did. Great
he
example.
He was here for a while and was using that time to get ahead and get multiple
PhD.
degrees. Yeah, I mean it was insane by the time he stopped playing. But no, that is an interesting, and you see him and. You see it every once in a while where a guy is 7th year, 6th year, and you're going, all right, yeah, wow.
Brian, I told you, I was at Fayetteville most of the 80s, but I wasn't playing college football.
No, it's different. It's a lot different when you're playing a sport. But that is interesting, and I didn't watch that game and think he was anything great. I mean, he was okay.
I thought the Arkansas quarterback was better all day.
I did too.
But Bowman got the win, and kind of a Mike Gundy special, wasn't it? We'll talk about it tomorrow with Ty Richardson. I say yet a more heartache for the Razorback fans. They just can't take much more. Not with Sam Pittman.
No, absolutely not. And I'll tell you, Brett, I wasn't the biggest fan of Bowman in that game on Saturday because I talked about it yesterday. I had a bet on that game, and he throws a nice throw downfield, and he wants to run down the field and do the guns at Arkansas and gets a big penalty.
Go to the sideline. You do anything you want to.
Exactly.
You can go to the sideline and release dove from your trousers.
100.
Why you got to do that junk out on the field?
No, exactly. I mean, the flag comes out, and it completely halted their drive. It was, let the emotions get the best of them, I guess you could say. But we need to wrap up our second hour and get to another break. When we come back, we're talking a whole lot of Tigers. Greg Gaston is going to join us on the other side. We've got Tigers against Florida State Saturday morning. We've got conference realignment news. Will the Tigers be involved with what the Pac-12 is doing? We've got exhibition news for the Tigers as they'll take on North Carolina, we now know, in a preseason basketball exhibition. So much to talk about with Greg Gaston. He joins us next on Sports Time.
Simple, smooth, and every sip as easy as the last. Tito's handmade vodka tastes just as good with tap water as it does your favorite mixers. Back in the day, Tito distilled, hand-bottled, taste-tested, sent out to a few friends, then taste-tested again to give you the finest juice around. No frills, no flavors, no fancy labels, just the good stuff, just Tito's. For recipes, videos, and more, visit Tito'sVodka.com. Distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas. 40% alcohol by volume, mainly 80 proof, crafted to be savored responsibly.
Family Leisure is having the world's biggest spa set. It's happening right now. You can save thousands on in-stock hot tubs that are ready to be delivered. Family Leisure has spas that start at just $28.99. You know those cold plunges? You can get one for yourself starting at $39.99. Or how about swim spas? They start at $17,499. Plus, Family Leisure has set up special financing just for this event. Have you been sitting on the fence about an above-ground pool? Get off that fence and get to Family Leisure to take advantage of huge discounts on all their in-stock above-ground pools. And if you need some patio furniture, it's all priced to move out now. It's not too late to have some summer fun, courtesy of Family Leisure. But you better hurry up. The world's biggest spa sale might go on forever. Family Leisure. With and run at I-40. Where family and fun come together.
I want to learn how to cook, but I keep ordering takeout.
Accomplishing goals is hard, but when your goal is to learn a new language, Babbel makes it easy. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel will help you start having conversations in as little as 3 weeks. Words and phrases you'll actually use. So when someone asks, "How's your French going?" you can say,
Babbel facilite grandement l'apprentissage des nouvelles langues.
Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
Welcome to the Rendezvous.
This is John Vergas. When my dad started the Rendezvous in 1948, I don't think anyone could have imagined we'd still be serving shoulder, cheese plates, and our world-famous dry rub ribs 75 years later. But we are still here in the basement, in an alley in downtown Memphis. We sincerely thank you for making the Rendezvous what it is today. Charlie Vergas, Rendezvous.
a legendary experience for over 75 years, whether you dine in, pick up, or ship across the country.
So you need to sell your house? I have the solution. Call 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Call my buddy Bill and I buy houses, any area, as is. It's literally as simple as that. Just pick up your phone, call 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Call my buddy Bill and I buy houses. Guaranteed to close in 5 days. If you need to sell your house fast, call Bill at 901-406-1101. That's Bill at I Buy Houses.
Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery and setup, dependable service, and no long-term contracts. What an easy choice. Call Jeff Manus today, 901-382-2363, or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call now, 382-2363. That's 382-2363.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. It's starting to get a little bit busier here in the last few minutes, but it's moving on 240 East from Mill Branch out to 385 Bill Morris Parkway. Visibility is still down out here in certain areas, so give yourself extra time as this rain continues to move through our area, causing problems. Again, leave early. They just moved a wreck not too long ago on 40 East over here around Sycamore View Road. We're really keeping an eye on that area because that's going to build here pretty soon on 40 East, headed out towards Fayette County. Hey, make a difference by adopting a pet at the Humane Society of Memphis and Shelby County. Check out the animals that are up for adoption right now. There's some cute ones on there. Check out memphishumane.org. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
This is Original Sports Station. We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis. From the Tigers sideline, it's Tigers Talk with Memphis broadcasting legend Greg Gaston. Hear Greg weekday mornings on Sports 56 Mornings, along with Eli Savoy from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. On Twitter X at Greg_Gaston. Here's Greg with Bryant and Brett.
Greg Gaston joins us now to talk Tigers. You can listen to him every morning on this station with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg and Eli. He's also on the Tigers sidelines. Greg, a little bit of everything to talk about today. A ton of Tiger news out there.
Spin the wheel.
Honestly, we could really start anywhere. I do want to start, though, with the big game tomorrow because I don't want this game to get lost in all the other news that has been out there. Memphis and Florida State tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Excuse me, yes, Saturday. Today's Thursday. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm getting excited with the Thursday night football we've got tonight. That football's already starting. Saturday. What do you expect to see? It's a Florida State team 0-2. They've really struggled against a Tigers team 2-0 and have really handled business in their two first games.
Yeah, it's interesting because we talked about this game when we took a look at the schedule, and I know that Brett had picked Memphis to beat Florida State before the season started. I had picked this game as one of the two Memphis losses I had for the season. I had the Tigers going 10-2. But I think now going into this game, it's a lot more confusing to try to analyze this thing because people who know football and know the talent that Florida State has, they're still baffled that could they possibly be bad? Is it just one of those deals where they started out so slowly, their first two games will catch fire on Saturday and be the Florida State that everybody thought that was a preseason number 10? So you got that. You also have Memphis playing very good football as we expected early in the season with that schedule, conducive to starting out quickly with North Alabama and then with Troy. But certainly gaining that confidence, knowing that they can go down there and win this game, and now going in, ironically, as the ranked team in the coaches' poll at number 25, and Florida State, the non-ranked team, when obviously it was flip-flopped in the preseason AP and coaches' poll. So I'm as confused as anybody out there. Maybe others think this is going to be a continuation for Florida State and they'll struggle again. Maybe that will happen. I'm a little leery of maybe them waking up. Certainly Mike Norvell's got a lot of pressure. Not that he's going to lose his job or anything, but he's going up against his former team. He's had more than 10 days to get ready for this one.
And if they can't get it done this weekend, then when will they get it done? Maybe not at all this season. So this is one of those games, boy. I know we say a lot of times it could go either way. This one could be a really special day for the Tigers. It could also be a couple of touchdown win for Florida State. I just really don't know.
Greg, what's the position grouping for FSU that scares you the most playing against the Tigers?
The defensive line, who has played fairly soft so far, and I know they lost a lot from last year, but that defensive line is humongous. They really outweigh the Tigers' offensive line by a lot. These are big boys that can move, too. They got motors as well. That's what worries me because Memphis, which took a step up in the Troy game with the offensive line, remember, 3 new starters, and running the football. And that has been Florida State's bugaboo through the first 2 games, giving up a lot of rushing yards in the loss in Dublin to Georgia Tech and then to Boston College. So I'm a little worried that that defensive line has gotten the message, and they're going to play ferociously. Can Memphis match or exceed that physicality? The coaches feel confident they can do it. That, I think, will be a big factor in this game.
Well, Greg, you mentioned the run game for the Tigers, and Mario Anderson, we knew he was going to be effective after, playing in the SEC last year and being the leading rusher for South Carolina, but he looked really good in the most recent game against Troy. What do you expect some of those other backs? Because we know they're going to want to run multiple backs. Obviously, Mario Anderson will get the bulk, but Duosier's looked good, kind of stepping up, getting more reps with Sutton Smith out. And we know they're using Brandon Thomas as kind of that short yardage, red zone goal line back. How effective can these running backs be against a Florida State defense that's what you mentioned has been what's gotten them? But you got to imagine that these last 2 weeks, the message has been stop the run, stop the run, stop the run.
Yeah, and this is part of why this one's a little confusing to me to analyze because that offensive line, which played, as I said, a lot better against Troy, they need to continue that and then some to have success against Florida State. Remember, the 2 wins against Boston College and the 2 losses, against Boston College and Georgia Tech was because they were beaten at the line of scrimmage and they were beaten with the running game. But both the BC quarterback and the Georgia Tech quarterback, Castellanos in Boston, is doing a really nice job. They had a lot of carries in that game. It was facing 2 quarterbacks who were dual roles. They could beat you with their legs. They could beat you with their arms. Seth Hannigan will run when it's needed. He's not going to be in the game plan for 10 or 12 rushes a game. And we saw almost an option with Boston College and Castellanos. So, you got the RPO going. You don't see that with the Memphis offense. So it's not like they're going to sit there, the Florida State defense and the defensive coordinator, who's, of course, a very familiar name to Memphis fans. They're not going to be keying in on having to worry about a quarterback that's just going to take off and beat you with his legs. So they can focus more on the guys you just talked about. Mario Anderson, Greg Duosier, short yardage situation. You got Brandon Thomas. And that's it. They don't have to worry about Seth running, but they do have to worry about Seth passing the ball. And that's why I think the Memphis offense will open it up a bit, and you're going to see more of that passing game. I think you're going to see a lot more movement with the offense. It's going to be interesting. I don't think the offense you watch against Florida State is what you have seen in the first 2 games for Memphis.
Greg, you talk about Seth Hennigan and called runs, direct runs from him, not just scrambles. He's very effective at both. I don't think they will, and I hope they don't forget about. I love it in short, in kind of goal line, in red zone offense, when you get everybody spread out, you have empty backfield, everybody thinks you're throwing it, and that quarterback has that one hard step back, and then he's off. I think Seth does that well. Hope they keep that in the game plan for Saturday.
It'll definitely be in the game plan. I don't think there's any question. Yeah, they have a lot of different things and a lot of different ways they can go at the goal line. Look, when Thomas comes into the game, everybody expects them to run the ball. And against Troy, he got the carries. He scored the touchdowns. Pretty amazing the percentage of touchdowns he has on the carries that he's had in his career. But I think you have to be you got to look a little outside of the box here because Florida State knows what you're going to do. And I think Memphis will be a little inventive in what they will do down near the goal line. You just mentioned spreading it out and letting Seth carry the ball over the goal line. I think there's a lot of options when they get to the deep in the red zone toward the goal line, what they can do offensively. The question again will be when they are in the middle of the field and Memphis has a 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, and they decide to run and not pass the ball, will it be able to get those hard 3 and 4 yards when, again, the defense is going to realize, for the most part, unless he gets into trouble, they're not going to have a game plan which includes Seth Hennigan running 15 times. So they can really bear down and concentrate on the running back.
Absolutely. Well, the other news for Tiger football has been what happened this morning with the Big 12 announcing that they will add 4 teams from the Mountain West Conference as they try to, I guess, come back from the dead as a conference. They were down to 2.
The Pac-12, right.
Yes, and come back. Now Memphis looks like they are a possibility as a candidate that the Pac-12 would try to reach out to. What do you think about the prospect of Memphis joining the Pac-12?
All right, well, first of all, people got to slow their roll down as far as Memphis is concerned. Let's take it one step at a time. This news comes out last night. I had already gone to bed. I had no idea. So I get up in the morning and do my final preps for the show, and I go, whoa, okay. Are we talking about realignment already this quickly? But then again, it makes a lot of sense because remember that things need to be in place after next season because a new contract will have to be ironed out, whether or not the playoff goes from 12 to 14 or 16. Right now, the contract is only for the 2 seasons, for this year and for next year. So you'd really like to iron out where things stand. Now, the Pac-12, the Pac-2, let's just call it the Pac because we don't know what numbers they are. They obviously had an implosion with all those teams leaving. And we're left holding the bag was Washington State and Oregon State. But the name, the money, they were still, it was still there, and it is still there. The problem is you lose autonomy. If you can reform that conference, you're looking at being another group of 5 conference. I don't know if you can ever gain back autonomy. I don't know how that works. But, yes, we all figured that the Pac-12 was dead and buried. Apparently, they're not. And I don't know if this was a coincidence of timing or it just kind of irked the Pac-2. But just a few days ago, we heard that there was not going to be the Mountain West versus Oregon State and Washington State and a bunch of those games that we're going to see this year on the schedule for next year. That they basically broke away from those conversations. Mm-hmm. Now, I didn't think anything of it at the time, but now it makes sense because they were thinking about nabbing teams and resurrecting their conference all along. And to be able to get Boise State, which is the cream of the crop of the Mountain West, is huge. And then the other 3, pretty solid to go along with Boise State. As you guys have probably talked about, 6 teams, not enough. They need to get 8. They could go higher. They can go 12. There's a lot of things they can do. The question is about money. What network is going to want that conference? How much money can they bring in? It's obviously enough for those 4 teams that think that they're going to do a lot better financially in this revamped pack, if you will, as opposed to what the Mountain West gets now. And you also got to take into consideration that those teams and the Pac-12 Board of Trustees is paying for the exit fees of those 4 schools. So I'm long-winded to get to this point about Memphis. Where are those 2 schools coming from? On the air, again, this is on the fly this morning before I saw any stories or anything like that. I know Dennis Dodd and some others, Dellinger, mentioned Memphis. I had mentioned Memphis because my thought was, well, how about a 12-team conference where you have 6 from out there and 6 east of the Mississippi River, still play in divisions. I know that's going away and it's kind of a thing of the past, but play divisions, try to incorporate the entire country, which conferences are doing left and right, and bring in 12. So that means now you would have 6, you would add 6 more. And I think Memphis is an absolutely perfect candidate if you went in that direction, to bring in a Memphis, bring in a Tulane, bring in a South Florida. If you want to go that way, maybe FedEx gets involved, and they are the corporate sponsor of the conference. Now, if it's only 2 and they can't pluck back Stanford and Cal from the ACC, and I don't know what that contract language is, then do you go for a Texas team? Do you go for a UTSA? Do you go for somebody else down there? And then where does the other one fit in? Is it a Memphis? Is it a Tulane? Is it somebody else? So Memphis is certainly, in my opinion, and apparently in the opinion of a lot of other people, a possible candidate. But not so fast. You got to figure out how much money you're going to be able to make from that conference, and is it a move that makes sense with the distances that you would have to travel from what you're getting with the American right now. So I don't think it's a slam dunk that it's Memphis, and I don't think it's a slam dunk that even if offered, they would jump on it. It all depends on the finances, like it depends on everything. It's always about the money.
Always. Greg, you lay it out perfectly. You lay it out really well. Greg Gaston with us on our Sissy's Log Cabin guest line. You hear him every morning with Eli Savoy from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m., and you will hear him this Saturday down at Doak Campbell Stadium on the sidelines for the Memphis Tigers. All right, let's say it is a done deal. Who else would you bring along? It sounds like Tulane. It sounds favorable for South Florida, maybe UTSA. Anybody else you want to bring along to the party from the AAC, or say good riddance, don't let the door hit you?
If you're going 12?
Yeah.
Okay, if you're going 12, look, you might as well. I know how far the distances are, but again, look at what the Big Ten's doing. Look at some of these other conferences. I would absolutely go for Florida. I'd bring in South Florida. I would bring in Tulane. I would bring in Memphis. That's 3 from the American. That's probably it. Maybe UTSA. Maybe those 4 is who I would bring in. That would get me to 10. And then if I was able, again, I don't know what the deal is, legally, but Cal and Stanford would be fantastic. If not, you got to pluck 2 more from the Mountain West. You got no other choices, I don't believe, unless you're going to go Conference USA, Sun Belt. I mean, it could be something there. But then I would think that Air Force would make sense. You're getting the slim pickings there, Brett. You got to make sure that whoever you bring in has some.
I'm afraid with Air Force there'd be a constituency for Army and Navy, and no disrespect, but no thanks.
Yeah, you don't want to go down that avenue. No. But who brings in something? I mean, just think about it with Memphis. What do you bring in? You bring in a football program that has improved immensely, goes to a bowl game every year, is the talk of maybe
football crazy part of the country.
Football crazy part of the country, right? A team that's in the mix, in the conversation at least, to be that Group of 5 representative in the first 12-team playoff. You have FedEx, which is first and foremost, and you have a basketball program that obviously had a struggle last year, but we know the history of the basketball program. It's still football that stirs the drink. But there's a lot of appeal for Memphis. Now, there was appeal.
Basketball matters, though.
Yes. But I thought there was appeal for the Big 12, and they took other schools. And who knows what's going on with this ACC mess. Now, what will not happen is you're not going to get Clemson and Florida State, if they can somehow maneuver their way out of the legalities, to jump onto that conference. They ain't going to that conference. They're going to the SEC or the Big Ten or something like that. So don't think crazy as far as that's concerned. But I would think that there's probably 3 or 4 from the American if you plan to go 12. They may just want to stay at minimum 8, and that will be an interesting scenario. Do they settle for 2 more in the Mountain West? Again, do they try to get Cal and Stanford back, or do they grab somebody like Memphis and Tulane, Memphis and UTSA, something like that? It's going to be interesting. It's just amazing, though, Brett. We're talking about this again, but I do understand now the sense of urgency with the contract that's currently that they're under is only got 2 total years before they have to rip it up and do a new contract.
Greg Gaston with us from the Tiger Sideline, brought to you every Thursday by Dyer's Hamburgers, Crab Kings, and the Crazy Coop. Whomever the sports or the realignment gods are, we need to tell them we don't need realignment talk during football season. We need it in June.
Absolutely. Give it to us when it's slow, for goodness sakes. Not when we actually have the games. That's what I want to talk about. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's not great timing, I guess, so we can say. Well, Greg, other news that came out this morning that was a little bit overshadowed by all the Pac-12 news, Tiger basketball, we now know who who that second exhibition game will be against, and it is a big-time opponent. North Carolina will come to FedEx Forum to face off October 15th against Memphis. The game will be televised on ESPNU, and it will be part of a doubleheader. Men's will go up against North Carolina in the first game. Directly after, the women's team will go up against national powerhouse South Carolina. That one will be on ESPN Plus, and all of this is benefiting St. Jude. So some really good games going to a really great cause. What did you make of that news this morning?
Well, first of all, it is nice to have some positive news. It's been turmoil for over a week, so you get the positive news. Second of all, anything to benefit St. Jude Children's Research Hospital or Le Bonheur Children's Hospital for the children to be able to do something like that, it's a win-win. Plus, your Memphis, your North Carolina, or Memphis and Alabama, and the other charity game that they play in Huntsville, you learn about your squad very quickly. You get a chance to go up against a big-time opponent. I understand all those years of Lemoyne Owen and Lane and Christian Brothers University, and I feel for them because financially that is really beneficial to those programs. But you gotta think of yourself first, and the most important thing is to have this team ready, especially when it's a new team seemingly every year now with the transfer portal. So you will find out right away what you have to do, what you have to adjust, what combinations you can use. Two games that, hey, it doesn't matter if you win or lose because it's not going to be on your ledger. These are exhibition games. Both of them are charity games. I expect a sellout. I hope it would be a sellout. October 15th is going to be rocking. And then for the women and Alex Simmons to go up against the defending champions, to go up against Dawn Staley and her South Carolina juggernaut, I think is fantastic. That is really, really good news, and we needed a dose of it.
For Saturday morning, a couple of early keys to start the game out. I know Dave will throw it down to you for that same dialogue right before the kickoff. What's some early keys for the Tigers to get off and cooking Saturday morning?
Brett, punch him in the mouth early. Punch him in the mouth early, whether you stop them on defense, depending on the coin toss, or whether you get the ball and you punch it in. Make them start to really second-guess themselves. Maybe we do stink. Are we going to lose a third straight? We're losing to Memphis. We're losing to Mike Norvell's former team. Let them start to question what they are as a football team. Don't give them any momentum. That's so pivotal, in my opinion. It doesn't mean necessarily you're always going to win a game, but when you can start out and you can, especially on the road, take that crowd out of the game early. We know how raucous they'll be at Doak Campbell. You need to make sure that you strike first. And then I want to see the running game, but I do believe we're going to see some stuff. We're going to see some trickery from Florida State. We're going to see probably some different things from Memphis because even though Ryan Silverfield won't admit it, they've kept it pretty much close to the vest. So expect some very interesting things, I believe, early in the game. And for Memphis to land that first big overhand right, I think will be really pivotal for this game.
Yeah, it absolutely will be. Greg, as always, thanks so much for joining us.
Have fun Saturday.
Have fun. That's going to be a
I've
blast.
never been to Doak. I can't wait to hear all about it.
I'll let you know. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you, Greg. Greg Gaston, talking Tigers with us. We have talked a lot of Tigers this week because it's the biggest game of the year, and then the realignment news and the great news about the exhibition games. And I'm with Greg. I know why, and I understood the years of playing athletes in action and playing the local schools that play in other divisions, but I much prefer this.
Oh, no, absolutely. 100% you prefer this, and, I think people should be excited about it.
And you'll get to find out a lot about your team in victory or in defeat. Now, whether it's either one, it's not going to count.
Exactly.
But it's going to matter.
And you're absolutely right, and it's a big difference. I mean, no disrespect at all to some of the teams that they've played exhibitions against in the past, but you're going up against a North Carolina team that year in and year out they can be a team that's ready for a run. And I already mentioned earlier in the show, Alabama. You hear a lot of people talking about how good that team can be, and they could be competing for a title this year as well. So you're going up against two teams that very well could be around late in the NCAA tournament, and that's only going to make you better. You're only going to be able to learn more about your team. And like you said, Brett, this isn't one where we're going to be sitting day after going, well, they only won by by 10 points or they lost that game, it's going to be okay. Wow, they
Here we
hopefully
go.
they were
This is what we have.
competitive against that
That's
team.
right.
They won. They beat that team in the exhibition. And if they lose, it's okay. That game doesn't count. You got a good look at your team. Time to get better.
Bama in the Final Four last spring. North Carolina usually always there.
That's right.
Every spring. Let's drive with Chevy truck season and start it off driving from All-Star Chevrolet in Olive Branch, where all the Chevy trucks are. Every new Silverado you're looking for, come drive a few of those. Financing as low as 1.9, no payments for 90 days. That's 0 payments for 90 days. Your good credit deserves it. That about carries you out to the end of the year, just in time for tailgating this weekend at the next game you want to go to. Start it out from All-Star Chevy with the best tailgating Tahoes. If you're in law enforcement, first responder, recent grad, educator, military, healthcare worker, $500 bonus cash, just like that. Come check out this huge, and I mean huge, pre-owned section they have at All-Star. Nissans, Fords, Jeeps, Toyotas, cargo vans, a ton of pre-owned Silverados. And if you got any vehicle you want to sell, bring it to All-Star, whether you bought it there or not, and they will give you the most money for that trade. Don't miss the Chevy truck season sale going on right now in Olive Branch at All-Star Chevy, first exit into Mississippi on Kraft Goodman Road off Highway 78, and you're there. For more information, go to allstarautogroup.com.
Well, let's get to another break, and when we come back, we'll talk about what's trending.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Country music singer-songwriter Kylie Martin loves her ring from Genesis Diamonds. It's something that's simple, you look the song. That's exactly what they do. And then you just the way you wear it's got a fire passion in there. And you definitely came to choose it. These three fiancé Genesis because of the reputation, the quality, the personal service, and of course, the also dedication to my collection of songs about sensational bridesmaids. Released a 1,000 DMs asking from the future brides to worked with Keys and Clubs, packages to put some as advice to all those
The secret to getting endless hot water at home. Go tankless with Navien. Navien tankless water heaters provide endless hot water for spa-like comfort. How? They heat water on demand, right when you need it, instead of wasting energy by storing it in a tank, which means you get instant hot water that never ever runs out. Right now, save hundreds on Navien tankless water heaters with local rebates. It's easy. Visit tanklessmadesimple.com. That's tanklessmadesimple.com.
Jenkins Floors and More invite you to their retail warehouse where they pass wholesale savings on to you. Jenkins Floors in Little Rock, Cleveland, Mississippi, and now open in Horn Lake at 2356 West Goodman Road. Specializing in flooring and carpeting, tile, plantation shutters, and blinds, Jenkins makes your life easy with a 2-week turnaround. Contractors, builders, or family projects, call 662-469-9350 for a free estimate. Owners Timmy and Rebecca Jenkins say hello to Sports 56 fans and look forward to your business.
Listen each and every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. and join Ottawa Presbyterian Church for worship. Ottawa is a PCUSA church located in town Memphis.
Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery and setup, dependable service, and no long-term contracts. An easy choice. Call Jeff Manus today at 01-382-2363 or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call now 382-2363. That's 382-2363.
Admit it. When you start thinking about tastes of Memphis, you think treats, sweets. You think Dinstall's. For 122 years now. What is that, 5 generations? When people wanted something to bring to a party that will just make everybody happy, they bring out Dinstall's. 122 years of Cashew Crunch, of Heavenly Hash, of Turtlettes, of their award-winning fudge. That's worldwide. It's known that well. Then there's the milk chocolate. It all starts there. There's the double dip peanuts. And then every fall, those famous chocolate-covered strawberries with that fondant. And they won't tell you what's in the fondant, but it makes it oh so special. And easy to get to. 5 locations. There's where they make the candies in Pleasant View. There's Germantown. There's Collierville. There's even one downtown and in my neck of the woods in Laurelwood. You know what? 122 years made in Memphis and enjoyed by the whole world. Dinstall's.
So you need to sell your house? I have the solution. Call 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Call my buddy Bill and I buy houses. Any area, as is. It's literally as simple as that. Just pick up your phone. Call 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Call my buddy Bill and I buy houses. Guaranteed to close in 5 days. If you need to sell your house fast, call Bill at 901-406-1101. That's Bill and I buy houses.
Listen Sundays at 11 a.m. to join Idlewild Presbyterian Church for worship. Idlewild is a PCUSA church located in Midtown Memphis.
Traffic brought to you by 901 Eats to Go, 3135 Kirby Whitten Road in Bartlett. Pick up, DoorDash, Uber Eats, or online at 901eats.com. Eats with a Z. Good food fast.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. We're still dealing with some wet driving conditions out here. It's just been rough all day long, dodging these rain showers and all the standing water on main and secondary arteries. Still moving, however, on 40 East from Sycamore View Road all the way out past Germantown Parkway. Normally, it's pretty heavy out through here, continuing out towards Fayette County. Hey, Weimer's Jewelry serving the Memphis area now for over 40 years. No matter what the occasion is that's coming up, make sure you check with these guys first at Weimer's Jewelry, 7525 Highway 64. Shop local and save. I'm Commander Chuck. You're on time traffic.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure Studios. We got about 30 minutes left in today's show, and we got to talk about what's trending. Brett, we mentioned earlier after we talked with Keith Smith, Trae Young saying that if he was 6'8", he'd be the greatest player ever. We had some texts in about other short players that would be the greatest player ever if they were 6'8". Someone texted in and said Isaiah Thomas would be up there. And then another one, and I love this one, Russell Westbrook driving the lane at 6'8", unstoppable. I like where your head is at with Russell Westbrook.
I do too, Hall of Fame bound, and I've cracked on him through the years. He's going to the Hall of Fame without a single ring. But that's okay. He's still going to the Hall of Fame.
Right. Yeah, better than where I'm going. I'm not going to the Hall of Fame for anything.
Sure not. I didn't see anything that incendiary, what Trae Young said. He is a pretty easy target. That's why I said it's a big year for him. Every year is a big year, but this is a big year for him because he talks a lot.
Oh, he definitely does, and he's kind of made a name for talking a lot. You know, it seems like he has fun with it, and you know he knows he's a talker and is very okay with it. I think he was went on WWE in New York City at Madison Square Garden, and did the whole villain thing in front of those Knicks fans, and that got a lot of attention. So it feels like that's who he is, and it comes with there's some people that appreciate it. There's a lot of people that don't, and but at least it seems like he has fun with it.
It has been a challenging weather day, and
man.
Francine, go away. Nobody invited
Literally.
you. You almost could call this the hurricane of I-55. It has tracked almost perfectly up I-55 since about Kentwood, Louisiana last night. Right now, if AccuWeather is correct, and I just have to assume they are, just north of Greenwood and about to finally blow through here and blow out. But the wind right now is about as rough as it's been all day.
Really? Yeah. See, I'm looking out a back window, and so I don't get to see much. I've just been looking at rain all day, and
and it has rained.
Times it's a little depressing, Brett. You don't want to just be staring out the window at rain. But no, I mean it's really come down, and hopefully everybody's staying dry, and hopefully everyone's power's staying. I know, people. Some of my buddies been texting me saying their power's been flickering on and off, but. Hopefully everybody stays all right out here.
That's kind of a normal Thursday at MLG&W, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I kid.
No,
we'll pull the plug on us
no, please
at
don't.
Mount Moriah.
We only less than 30 minutes, Brett. Don't get us don't get the power shut off on us like that.
Speaking of timing, tomorrow I won't be able to join you because of travel. I think it's going to be around. I hope maybe earlier, but around 5 o'clock for sure when we talk college football with Ty Richardson. Then we have Friday football forecast, and we wrap it up with crunch time tomorrow night. And I hope it goes that well. So I won't get a lot of Tiger FSU conversation in tomorrow. So let me get this in. And I'm not trying to cover any bases. Tomorrow when we make picks, it's 34-21 Memphis. I've done it all week. I felt great about it all week. I felt great about it all summer. I did it today at 10:30, joining Chuck Oliver in Atlanta. I did it today at 12:30, joining the Jocks crew down in Birmingham. I've said it everywhere I've been. I mean it everywhere I've been. But if it's a loss, I promise you I'm going to come here no matter what. I mean, if it's a fumble fest and FSU clicks and it's a splattering, I'm going to say the same thing, that now the conference schedule really starts, and that's what really matters. But here is one doomsday scenario in defeat that I hope doesn't happen. If FSU beats the Tigers Saturday, I hope they got it. I hope they have the ship righted, and they go on and they whip off 10 straight, and they're right back to what we were thinking that what everybody thought they were going to be all year. I don't want it to be the double whammy of a Tigers loss and FSU still not right, and they lose 5 or 6 times.
Yeah, no, you definitely don't want that, because I think that's where it could really get tricky at the end of the year when you're talking college football playoff. Is if Memphis loses,
that could be a tiebreaker.
It definitely could be. If Memphis drops the game on Saturday, and then Florida State goes out, and maybe Memphis struggles on Saturday against Florida State, and it's not very close. And then Florida State goes out, and they continue to struggle the rest of the year. There's going to be a lot of people at the end of the year when you look at Liberty, maybe Boise State. They're right now coming off a 3-point loss to Oregon, and so that's could be something that the committee looks at and says, okay, well, when Memphis played Florida State, they lost and they weren't very competitive, and now Florida State hasn't been really competitive the rest of the season. But look at Boise State over here. Maybe they have the same record, but Boise State was real competitive against Oregon. Let's give them the upper hand, rank them a little higher, and give them that spot. So I don't think that's what's gonna happen, because I think Memphis is gonna be very competitive tomorrow or Friday or Saturday. I don't know why I keep saying tomorrow.
It's okay.
It's been a long.
We're excited.
Brett, it's been a long day. I'll tell you that with all this weather. But I think they're going to be very competitive on Saturday, so I don't think we have to worry about that. But you're right. It could be something that could come into play down the road.
And as far as Boise State, they're like a lot of teams that we are watching nationally. I think they lose again somewhere.
Sure.
I think they lose a couple times somewhere. But here's some likely suspects that they could lose to. Washington State in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
They also have Oregon State. Both of those, though, are on the blue field in Boise, and that's against both of the Pac-2 members,
right.
Washington State.
Their future conference brethren.
That's right. They also play at UNLV the last Saturday of October, Saturday, October 26th, and Coach Odom's team.
Yeah.
A lot of people are on alert for them.
Yeah, I mean they're starting to look dangerous, and they've played.
Vegas plays KU this week.
Yeah, and that's going to be a fun game. Kansas coming off a loss against Illinois, so that's going to be a really big game. But yeah, I mean I think Boise State still has some difficult tests, and they're going to have to do a lot of winning, and I think. I would definitely rather, have Memphis' schedule than Boise State's schedule. But, Saturday is going to be big for Memphis against this Florida State team. And I'm really curious about this defense for Florida State because, we've talked about it, Brett, before the season. A lot of people talking about how good that defensive line in particular would be for Florida State. And at least through 2 games, they've not lived up anywhere near that standard that I think a lot of people had set for them. And so now they had 2 weeks to get ready for this game. What do they look like coming out? We've talked about a hot start, and I think the hot start's even more important, or not important, but it would be even bigger the way this game is set up, because Florida State has got to be itching to get back on the field and try to prove everybody wrong that the first 2 games of the season were flukes and that they're a much better team than what they've shown. They've got to be itching to get out there. And so if Memphis can go out there, maybe get a stop, maybe get the ball first and score first, if they can get up early and take that momentum early, I think that will do a ton for them, because you've got a team that's got their backs against the wall. If they get punched in the mouth early, it might be hard for them to continue to stay focused and not go, man, we've lost our first 2 games, and now we're already down against Memphis. That checkout factor has got to come in at some point.
Write me the headline: if Coach Prime in Colorado if they lose to Colorado State.
Oh man, hasn't that been an interesting this week after last year? All the talk and all the build up to the game.
They barely beat them.
They sure did. And now this year,
here's my headline.
Making a point not to talk this year, though.
My headline's more questions than answers with Coach Prime.
For sure. And, this has turned into a big game for Colorado. And, I think you knew you were going to get a lot of excitement for them this season. And, last week they just, we're not the better team against Nebraska. Nebraska was head and shoulders better than them in every aspect. And so, they're definitely going to want to come out against this Colorado State team, and that's a rivalry. And a lot of people are going to remember what happened last year and what was a great back-and-forth game. So I'm excited for that one, but you're absolutely right. If they lose that one, that's a good headline, Brett.
The chance for Liberty to lose, I don't think there's any this week to UTEP. It's next week, and that helps everybody in the AAC world, still trying to stay loyal to the AAC world while trying to also get out. East Carolina's got to take care of them next week.
Yeah, I mean, that's one where we talk about, and you've talked about it a lot, Brett, of, if you're a Tiger fan, you're rooting for the other AAC teams in situations like this.
More than ever.
Absolutely. When you've got East Carolina, a chance for them to pull the upset and beat Liberty. And with Liberty's schedule, if they lose to East Carolina, that knocks them out completely. And so, this weekend, I think they'll be fine against UTEP. But next week is going to be a big-time game between the Pirates and the Flames.
So you're blaming me for the Cardinals not having the no-hitter of the perfect game today.
Wow.
Through 5 innings, perfect game
Brett,
for Sonny Gray.
I didn't know we were going to go here. And I'll peek a little more behind the curtains. I was not the one that put the blame on you initially. I'll just say that. A very good friend of the show.
I'm being blamed.
Rob Fisher was the first one to blame you. And all I said was, Rob said it, Look,
that's it.
I didn't want to be the person that said it, but if Rob wants to do it, I'm not going to deny it, Brett.
Cardinals haven't had a no-hitter since 2001. That's not the longest in baseball. The longest in baseball, because I went investigating when it was through 5 innings. The longest in between no-hitters, Atlanta.
Wow.
Way back to 94, they've been the longest, and there are 5 other teams. Because the Cardinals are 7th in the Wayback Machine. The Cardinals have never had a perfect game.
Wow.
In their storied history,
that's crazy.
Never a perfect game. 27 up, 27 out.
Yeah, that is wild, honestly. And
got 15 today.
Sure did, and looked
and
good.
Got the win.
And that's the big part of it, is got the win, because I'll be honest, Brett, we were texting about the game, and Cardinals get up early, and Sonny Gray's looks great out there. Then they give up a run in the top of the 6th inning, and I'll be honest, Brett, I was sitting there going, oh, it was fun while it lasted, but here come the wheels falling off, and they're going to end up losing that game. But they give up the 1 run in the 6th, and then they score 1 in the bottom of the 6th. They score 2 in the 7th. They score 2 in the 8th, and they don't get to bat again in the bottom of the 9th. They win 6-1. So I'm not going to say I really liked what I saw, I'm trying to say something, but, that was fun for them to have that excitement at the beginning, and then that game get tied again, and then to be able for that offense to pick up and get a comfortable win over the Reds. That was fun today.
It was one of my favorite Jack Buck dialogue when the game was going bad and base runners everywhere when bases loaded and nobody out. He would always say, perfect time for a triple play. Well, here's mine. 16 games left for the Cardinals. Perfect time to win the last 16 games.
That's right.
That would be 18 in a row.
Oh, man.
I don't know that gets you in.
I don't know, Brett. Honestly, at this point, I think it would take a little.
Well, that'd
bit
be
of
90
everything.
wins. That might make some noise.
I think it would, but you never know. And so, I mean, that was 3 games in the books today in Major League Baseball, including the Cardinals. The other 2, the Astros, get a win at home against the Athletics, 6-3 in that one. How about this? The Rockies pulling the upset over the Detroit Tigers. They win 4-2 in that win. And what makes this even more notable, it was a Trick Skubal start. He went 6 innings, struck out 6, and gave up 1 earned run on 4 hits. Skubal's been electric this year, and so it is a little rare that the Tigers lose when he's on the mound. 16 wins for him this season.
4 back in the loss column for the last AL wild card. Detroit, Boston, and Seattle, all 4 back in the loss column, all with 72. The little glimmer of hope for the Tigers, that probably extinguished it today.
Yeah, it definitely feels like it. But I would say, a good season for the Detroit Tigers. When you look at the grand scheme of things, I thought they were competitive. I thought they were a fun team to watch. I enjoyed them. Obviously, they have one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball, in Trick Skubal, who we just mentioned. And, they've got some young players that I think can turn into guys that can, get them over that hump and make them a playoff team. Maybe it's next year that they can reach the playoffs again. But, I think definitely you come away, if you're Detroit, we didn't make the playoffs, which is probably what the goal is, but I think you take a lot of good things away from what you saw this year.
And a great manager.
Absolutely. And so I think they're in really good hands with him at the helm. But we need to get to our final break of the day. When we come back, we'll wrap up today's show with Crunch Time.
Tailgate package from Buster's Butcher. Stop in Buster's Butcher, 199 South Highland Street, and register to win an Ice Mule Cooler, 4 Yeti Coasters, a $200 gift certificate, and some Buster's branded swag. Tailgate package valued at $500, no purchase necessary, 1 entry per person. Winner drawn 10 a.m. October 1st. Buster's Butcher offering the finest selection of curated meats, cheeses, prepared foods, and more. Learn more at bustersbutcher.com.
Scott Graham here from Westwood One. Thursday Night Football kicks off Week 2 with an early showdown of last year's top 2 teams in the AFC East, the Bills and the Dolphins. Josh Allen in Buffalo opened play with a win over the Cards, while Tua Tagovailoa threw for over 300 yards in Miami's victory over the Jags. Tom McCarthy and Ross Tucker will have the call from Miami on Thursday Night Football.
Right here on Sports 56.
This is the story of the one. As a warehouse manager, her job is to transform chaos into clarity and to see patterns where others see problems. Luckily, she's got a partner who shares her perspective. Grainger offers over 1 million industrial-grade products, backed by real-person support and in-depth online resources, so she can tackle every task with precision and turn potential setbacks into streamlined success. Call clickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Time flies. Love you, man. Oh, don't forget your knee brace again. We aren't in college anymore.
Moments together matter, so help protect yourself from RSV. If you're 75 or older or 60 plus with a chronic condition like asthma, COPD, heart disease, or severe diabetes, you're at higher risk of landing in the hospital from RSV, and there are no prescription RSV treatments. Check eligibility and schedule your RSV vaccine at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Hi,
This is Jimmy Stovall with Corky's Barbecue. We're celebrating 40 years in Memphis since opening our doors in 1984. And we want to thank you, our loyal customers, with some throwback menu items and some throwback pricing. For a limited time only, dine inside at any of our 4 area locations and get a world-famous full slab of ribs with 4 sides for only $19.84. We are also bringing back our legendary barbecue shrimp for only $13.99. And you can even have them served on a bed of cheese grits for the best barbecue shrimp and grits anywhere in town.
We're just getting started, so.
Spanning the globe.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
This is for all the biggest crunch time.
You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that? Goodbye! Hello, Haskell.
It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin, this baby is over.
Well, Brett, what I learned today, well, a couple of things. It's been a really, really busy day, but I think the biggest thing I learned, I just learned it a couple of minutes ago, Miami running back Devon Achane will be active tonight against the Bills in the Thursday night football matchup. So the Dolphins will be missing 2 of their really good running backs tonight against the Bills, which is definitely good news for them. The other thing I learned today is that whether it is a game that matters or a game that doesn't matter, Penny Hardaway is going to schedule a tough opponent for his team. We've talked so much about the non-conference slate, and then you talk about Alabama down in Huntsville, which I'm not going to take any bets that there's going to be it's going to be a pro-Memphis crowd. I think it will be very much the opposite, a pro-Alabama fan for that exhibition. But then setting up an exhibition against North Carolina at home. Brett, I'm going to be honest, I cannot wait to go see Memphis play North Carolina. I know it's just an exhibition game, but I cannot wait to see those two teams face off against each other in an exhibition. And, I know there's been a lot of negative stuff out there these last couple of weeks in regards to Memphis basketball, but it's one thing you can say about Penny Hardaway. He's going to make sure there is a great test on the other side of the court for his basketball team, and these 2 scrimmages are going to get his team well prepared for the season. He's going to learn a lot about his roster based on these 2 games. You go up against Alabama, Nate Oates, a really, really good coach, and a team that went to the Final Four last year, could go really deep this year, and then against the brand of North Carolina, they're bringing back a ton of players, including R.J. Davis from last year's team. So these are 2 really good tests before the season actually gets started.
Last time North Carolina was at FedEx Forum, Drake May's big brother was hitting a shot to send them to the Final Four and win it all.
Insane.
And they'll be there in October against the Tigers. What I learned today is this, Bryant. We always keep it on the sports. We stick to sports, and we will. And the reaction I get from people around town and visiting with people about us doing that, it is overwhelming the amount of approval that we get for that. And I swear that where I'm going now, it has a sports connection. How about today? Billionaire Jared Isaacman becoming the first person to take part in a spacewalk from a private citizen. Did it today, 41 years old. He's donated $100 million to St. Jude. But he's also done this. Here's the sports connection. He went up on a mission a few years ago, and over Las Vegas, they allowed him to do it. He bet on 2 NFL games from space.
Wow, my dream. Oh, man. How about that?
Well, that's love in action, isn't it?
I guess so. I mean, I think you start questioning, is it really love at that point, or maybe it slips into something else?
He bet at MGM Sportsbook from space.
Wow, how about that? I love that. Now, here's
that takes the cake. I remember you used to trying to find payphones,
that's right.
but bet from space.
Jeez, yeah. I'll be honest, Brett. I know that's becoming something that a lot of people talk about is in the future.
Hard pass.
People being able to go up in space. I'm good here.
I'm good here. I have no business up there.
No,
It's none of my business.
I don't want to go up to space, if I'm being completely honest.
I'm
But
good.
I know a lot of people do, and that's great. What I could have done without today, in all honesty, is probably the rain we've been getting today in this weather, but that will pass. I think what it has to be that I could have done without today is all of the realignment news, and not really in a bad way. It's just, man, it gets crazy out there.
It was a hurricane of it, wasn't it?
It sure was. I mean, it just hit you in the
Pardon the
face
pun.
this morning, literally. But no, I mean, what the Pac-12 is doing, taking 4 teams from the Mountain West and 4 strong programs from that conference to strengthen its conference. Now, where I could have done without is because now the Tigers have if they are offered. It's still a big if. We don't know anything. We know that a lot of people are saying that they're a candidate, and a lot of people that have really good sources are saying that their name is in the mix. But if Memphis does get offered, what do? Brett, we talked about it at the beginning of the show, and I thought you laid out some really, really good points of why Memphis should take that opportunity if it's presented to them.
Jump at it.
Now some tough decisions that will have to be made of, do you go and become a member of the Pac-12? Do you stay and maybe try to wait and see if something happens with the ACC
Don't
or
wait
the
on
Big
the
12?
next bus.
I don't think you do either, but it is definitely now. I think a lot of people here in Memphis, their ears are perking up now at another sound of conference realignment.
Brian, I could do without this. There are 5 FBS teams who have not thrown a touchdown pass this season.
Whoa, what?
Air Force, we can understand.
Sure.
Miami of Ohio, Northwestern, Western Michigan, and Notre Dame.
Whoa.
Air Force at Baylor on Saturday, Miami at home against Cincinnati, Northwestern at home against Eastern Illinois, Western Michigan at home against Bethune-Cookman, and Notre Dame at Purdue. All 5 get one Saturday.
I like it. Bet on it now, all 5. Can you bet on that? I don't know. Of these 5 teams will
Can you
pass
bet on
for
it
a
from
touchdown.
space?
That's an even better question. I'm not sure. Where are you beaming tonight?
San Marcos, Texas for
Oh,
the Bobcats hosting Arizona State. Texas State only beat Lamar by 7 opening week and then pounded UTSA. Arizona State, they walloped Wyoming opening week and then held on to defeat Mississippi State last week.
Yeah, it's going to be a really fun game starting here in about 30 minutes at 6:30. Beam me to Thursday night football tonight in Miami. Bills and Dolphins, usually always a great game, and it should be a fun matchup tonight on Thursday night football on Prime Video. But a reminder, if you don't have Prime, you don't want to watch it on Prime, maybe you're out and about, we'll carry all the action right here on Sports 56, our coverage beginning at 7 o'clock.
And tonight I will watch Kumar Rocker in his first
That's
start
right.
for Texas against Seattle.
Yeah, that will be a lot of fun. I've had my eyes on that as well today, getting ready for that. But that's all the time we have. Enjoy your night. We'll talk to you again tomorrow afternoon.
Admit it. When you start thinking about tastes of Memphis, you think treats, sweets. You think Dinstall's. For 122 years now. What is that, 5 generations? When people wanted something to bring to a party that will just make everybody happy, they bring out Dinstall's. 122 years of cashew crunch, of heavenly hash, of turtlettes, of their award-winning fudge. That's worldwide. It's known that well. Then there's the milk chocolate. It all starts there. There's the double-dip peanuts. And then every fall, those famous chocolate-covered strawberries with that fondant. And they won't tell you what's in the fondant, but it makes it oh so special. And easy to get to. 5 locations. There's where they make the candies in Pleasant View. There's Germantown. There's Collierville. There's even one downtown and in my neck of the woods in Laurelwood. You know what? 122 years made in Memphis and enjoyed by the whole world. Dinstall's.
Hi, it's the Herd. Touchdowns matter more at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and the code is HERD, always HERD, H-E-R-D, for new customers to get $250 in bonus bets when you bet just 5. And get 1 month of NFL Plus Premium on us. Only on DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus, age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For eligibility terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball. NFL Plus premium offer available only to new and former NFL Plus subscribers. Additional NFL Plus premium terms at nfl.com/terms.
We're in the break room at a traditional jewelry store here. Hey, Mark, I know it's our job here to try and sell every piece of jewelry, but don't sell this ring. I'm going to try to use my employee discount to buy it for my wife.
Okay, but you know you can get a better deal at Genesis Diamonds.
Genesis Diamonds? Are you crazy? They're not like the boss here.